press record. All right, ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. Meridius Radio, Holistic Entrepreneur Podcast, episode number 12. I'm your co-host, Oliver Manalese.
Holy shit.
Christopher Lim, and our very special guest,
That's right, man.
Terry Tillaart.
Thank you for having me,
Welcome
guys.
to
Appreciate
the show,
that.
brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. Excited to be here.
I'm really
Fantastic.
excited for you to be here too, man.
It's been a while since we've caught up, too, so it'll be fantastic. I'm pumped.
It's been a long while.
Yeah, I know. Almost 2 years, I think.
Probably about
Yeah.
that time, too.
Time flies, something like that.
I think Savannah Ross maybe was the last time I
The
saw
last
her.
time Christmas
yeah.
party, yeah.
Christmas
Holy
party. Yeah, it was
crap.
Christmas 2 years ago.
That's Christmas 2 years ago, yeah.
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 Well, I still see you on Facebook.
Yeah,
And
well, you know,
emails.
I work on the Facebook. You know, it's a good mix of friends and business for me on Facebook. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and I have a real passion for educating people. So
Yeah.
that's why Facebook's just a good venue for always exposing people to new ideas and trying to inspire people to a better life.
Exposing, and that's what we're gonna be doing today, guys. Is gonna be exposing the truth a little bit. I guess this is an episode like it's a red pill episode. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, you want to go there? We can go there.
I know that we're gonna get there,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of truth that needs to be shared, and you're an invaluable resource to people out there who need to wake up, or at least who've already woken up and just have a thirst for more.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate it. I tried because I always, you know, the whole adage of the truth sets you free. There's no bliss in ignorance, and I don't know why people seem to think that ignorance is bliss. There never is any there, because that's how you always get on the wrong path. You know, you follow. There's a path laid out for you, and if you go and follow that path, it's not the one leading you to your best life. You know, it's like Jim Rohn says: either you have a plan for your life, or you're not going to like what someone else has planned for you. And most people haven't planned their life, haven't thought it through. They just jump in and go to school, get good grades, get a job, listen to the doctor, do everything the program to do, follow the food guide, all these things.
Government will take care of you.
Come and take care of you, be entitled, you know, everything's coming your way.
Yeah.
It's never the truth. I mean, you look at statistically, you ever take a look at what happens to 100 people at the age of 65? You know, most of them are dead broke or dead by the age of 65,
Yeah.
which is, you know, insane. There's 5 people, and one who went really wealthy, 4 that do okay. The rest are completely dependent on somebody else, and most of them are dead.
Incredible.
I mean, that's not the life that I'm planning.
Holy
yeah.
crap!
Yeah, the stats are ugly. So for me, it's not a plan I'm gonna
So
sign
what,
up for.
what happens? I mean, what happened to you for you to be in pursuit of that type of knowledge? I mean, obviously, this is not the mainstream. The stuff that we talk about on the show, the people that we bring on, we're not talking about the mainstream. This is the alternative thought. That's the whole new, you know, genre that we're targeting. So what introduced you to it?
You know, I think being a competitive athlete growing up taught me a lot of lessons. This idea of being competitive, of striving to be your best, of, you know, working a little harder than the next guy, that kind of concept. And, you know, hockey was really serious growing up. And I think, you know, I watched my father come up from poverty when I was young, until he tried his hand in multiple businesses until he cracked the code, so to speak, and found what worked for him. And he's not Bill Gates, but he's done well for himself financially. And, you know, but I watched that his prime directive was just work harder than everybody, right? So I thought I'd combine some of that work hard ethic with work smarter.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And that really speaks to my story as well. Same sort of thing. Athlete, competition, you know, you get what you put into athletics.
100%.
100%. Like, I mean, you'll get away with so much on talent, but it gets to that point when you get to that higher level of competition where talent's not going to take you any further.
You know, and
You got to put in that hard work.
Yeah, and the distinction between good and great, especially in sport, is inches. Everything's about 2 millimeters.
Yeah.
And you know, I heard Tony Robbins share the greatest metaphor. It's one of the most powerful metaphors ever. You take the 100-meter sprint dash at the Olympics, you know, and you tell me who was 4th place last time. Tell me who was 2nd place. No one ever remembers them.
Who cares, man?
Yeah,
This-
who came after us? Usain Bolt. Who even knows?
This is the 2nd fastest man on the planet, and he was literally tiny fractions of a second behind him.
hair.
And all the rewards went to those who were outstanding. The guy who worked a little bit harder, who trained a little bit smarter, who went that extra mile, because the difference between good and great was inches.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Sidney Crosby in hockey. You know, you take Sidney Crosby, he's not measurably way better than everybody else. He's a little
this
bit
much
better.
more.
He's a little bit more, but that's that edge on every little play that eventually adds up. And he worked harder. And he worked smarter, like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods get multiple coaches, and he's the greatest golfer in the history of the planet.
I think that's how I remember the metaphor was just the grip, right? And you can just change, you can alter your grip in the golf course by 2 millimeters, and your ball will go from here to here.
It's one of my other most favorite metaphors of life. that trajectory, that 2 millimeters over time, and it's the same thing with like.
Isn't it 2 millimeters for being ugly
beauty.
and
It is,
to beautiful
absolutely.
too?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Explain it again.
So
If you're better
the
than I
world's
do.
best plastic surgeon figured out. He wrote a book on this, and he's the one who does the sultans and all the the princes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He does all,
high end celebrities.
yeah, and
what
what he figured out was everything was simply 2 millimeters off. So if you were 1 millimeter off, you were average looking. If you're 2 millimeters, you were butt ugly. But he can make people go from, and the whole face everything was symmetrical. His every change, and he changed on anybody, was always within a 2 millimeter range.
Nothing more.
But you could make someone who was 70 look like a 30-year-old supermodel if he tweaked those 2 millimeters every time.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Well, if you watch those Photoshop videos of the models, they take, there's one.
Oh
that,
yeah,
that,
I've seen them. Yeah, they're impressive.
Just goes from the beginning to the end, the process, and how they move the nose and the ears and the mouth and the eyes by 2 millimeters. It's
a 2 millimeter distinction.
hilarious, man.
But it's that trajectory over time. It's the same way you treat your life. You're going to train now, and you're looking at something over time. It's like healthy at 80 begins at 30.
Yeah.
It's that trajectory over time. But you make those simple decisions now, like Oliver's fantastic choice of beverage here,
Yeah,
or
we'll talk about that.
water's another great choice too. But you make those little shifts. You invest in yourself, and that trajectory over time is
Cajun
forever.
water.
Perfect.
And then you're
Staying
just
healthy.
on this trajectory towards a better life.
Right, and then Tiger Woods is like one of the greatest metaphors. People think that you go to high school and then you just stop learning. That's always been the most baffling concept.
Well,
to
most
me.
people don't even pick up a book after high school or university.
Statistically, I think it's less than 10% of people ever pick up one educational book ever that after the day they graduate, and only 10% of the people only 10% of book buyers buy an educational book, and only 10% of those people who buy books actually read them past the first chapter. So we're talking about infinitesimally small. So you want to get the edge. You want to be the Usain Bolt in the Olympics. If you want to be better health, better athlete, better anything, all you got to do is take that extra 2 millimeter step that no one else was willing to do, and you have the edge on everybody. No one's doing it.
So what's the extra 2 millimeters for you this year?
It's 2 millimeters for me. It's the same thing. It's a simple philosophy of Tony's:
Consistency, yeah.
constant and never-ending improvement.
Yeah.
Where same with my fitness goals. I don't desire to be huge.
Kaizen, right? Kaizen.
Yeah, I don't desire to be huge. And I like Kaizen. It's a great principle. The Japanese are excellent for that. I don't desire to be huge, but I always want to be improving my fitness in the sense that I'm always still working hard. There's no major big goal, but it's like I'm not giving up. I'm taking it to the next level. You're going to the gym, and for a while you're doing this kind of workout and that workout, and it's P90X, and now I'm doing P90X2.
Jesus.
And
that's why this guy gets carded at LSBO.
it's a beast. Yeah. It's a beast of a program. So anyway. Yeah, so I think for me it's just always learning the new book, always tuning into videos, signing up to the right newsletters.
Like who are you listening to? Like who are you paying attention to? Like who are you following as a role model for your life?
I have lots because I think everyone has something to offer.
Who's new? Who's new for you right now that you're really following?
New for me in the past year, it's been really new for me that I'm just totally in love with is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Never heard. Who's that?
Have you guys ever watched What the Bleep?
Yep.
Yeah, what the bleep do we know?
So if you think back to What the Bleep, he was one of the main characters in there. He's the guy who's talking about the addictions, and he's talking about how neural pathways get wired up. And he's talking about how you neuroassociate and all that stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, his story simply, he was a chiropractor, and the irony was he got hit by a truck running, I think it was a marathon.
Wow.
And his back was in shambles. I mean, he broke it in big time places. A lot of them said he would never walk again, and then he went on to getting all kinds of chiropractor opinions, and he's a chiropractor, so
right.
he's a spine expert, and they all said like this, and there's no way, and they were talking about major surgeries and all that stuff, and he was promised lucky if he'd have mobility. But one of the things he was doing prior to the accident is he was going around the world studying this concept of spontaneous remissions. I love the story. So he's studying those spontaneous remissions, and he wanted to find the common ground, so across cultures, across language barriers, across whatever, to see what were the common denominators in everyone who was able to dramatically turn something around seemingly overnight, through quantum method, basically. And he applied those things. He realized it wasn't religion, and it wasn't the God you pray to, and it wasn't, because none of those things mattered. And he figured out what that was. And so then he got injured, and he said, shit, I'm going to have to apply this to myself.
Fantastic.
Oof.
And he did.
And perfect guinea pig.
And within months or a year or something like that, I mean, he got his complete life back. And so he's just been constantly studying like the practical application of quantum physics to real life.
Oh my god.
So he's like the expert. Like he reads all the studies and he shows, he has videos where he's showing neural nets like wiring up and how nerve cells wire together and how they break apart. And he's showing you how that happens in the learning process.
So like breaking old addictions,
Yeah.
establishing new addictions.
Sure, and he's showing people who are learning, and then they're doing these, advanced imaging brain scans, and
Right.
they'll take people in different experiments and teach them different things in different ways to find out, and it's the old adage, you can master anything in life. It's one of my favorite principles is mastery. I don't know why everyone dabbles
Talk a
in
lot
life.
about that here.
I'm all about
Self-mastery.
mastery. Yeah, I'm not there, and I'll probably always be on the path.
It's just a
for sure,
journey.
yeah.
It's a journey.
It's not a destination.
But first, if you take on the identity metaphor that mastery is important to you, that you're into mastery, I am one who's into mastery. I'm not a dabbler. Like as soon as you own that, then your life changes forever. It's just such a simple distinction. But anyway, being into mastery, I'm looking at what Joe is doing. How do you apply the quantum physics world, and how are you? Because we have all the subconscious programming. It's such a mess. How are you reprogramming and rewiring it? How are you taking that stuff out? So.
And it's been going on for years. Unconsciously, we've been programmed.
Yeah, and the mastery thing. The point I was going to say is spaced repetition, immersion, and peer group, and they're also watching brain scans.
Space, repetition, immersion, and peer group.
3 keys to mastering anything.
Wait, space, repetition, and peer group?
Space repetition,
Space repetition,
immersion,
Immersion,
peer
and
group.
peer
Okay.
group.
Only 3 things you need to master anything. And what they're finding is they're doing these studies and watching the neural nets in the brain. And so people say, well, I already heard that. Well, I already heard that doesn't count. What they're finding is if you spaced repetition, a little bit of immersion, a little bit of peer group, they're watching the neural nets just totally wire
get
up totally
stronger
different.
and
And they're
stronger.
mapping it.
Really, wow.
They're mapping it.
That's sick.
And I've seen some of the pictures of watching the neurons, like all of a sudden
it just a graphic-
just attach, and then they'll start attaching and intertwining, and you see other nerve fibers coming in, and they start to bundle. So then you have
Is it the
separate nerve
Is it
center.
the actual footage of it?
Yeah,
Or is it- Holy
yeah.
crap!
Yeah, you see in the actual brain nerve cells firing and wiring together. It's like it's incredible.
That's creating a new habit. Like that's locking it in.
And now you've wired
New
it in the
thought
nervous
patterns,
system.
wired
too?
it.
New thought patterns as well, and
Yeah, so I mean, it's simple. I'll tell you a cool study. It's really simple. They took a group of people. One group comes in to play the piano, and they play randomness. Okay, and then they're watching the brain maps from now, and they come in every single day for 2 weeks for 2 hours. They take another group of people that come in, and they imagine playing the piano. They don't actually do it. And then
Visualization.
Right, visualization, 2 hours a day, and so these people their eyes are closed. Someone comes by and slaps them upside the head, make sure they're awake once in a while. not enough, But yeah, so they keep them awake, keep them engaged, and they got another group of people that come in and play the exact same piece every single day for 2 hours for 2 weeks straight.
Okay.
So they've got these 4 different categories of people. Well, the people
Wow.
that came in and played the piano played pure randomness, just mucking around with it and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
They showed almost no neural pathways in the
Right.
brain whatsoever. So even though they're
Nothing's
playing the
being
piano,
created, yeah.
even though they're playing the piano and stuff like that, there was no spaced repetition of that pattern. So no wiring really happened.
Right.
And then and then of course the group that did nothing happened, and the group that played the exact same keys had a massive wiring in the brain, in the nervous system like that. But what happened was the group that imagined that they were playing,
Visualized, yeah.
right? But they had a set visualization and
Okay.
one that they had to repeat all the time. They
it was a song.
wired almost identical circuitry.
Wow.
Holy
As
crap.
As the people who played.
every day.
So they had
neurons-
spaced repetition.
So you don't have to actually be doing it, but your
don't.
brain still
right.
makes the neurons connect.
Yeah, your subconscious has no idea whether it's real or fake.
yeah, so the subconscious doesn't. It
Doesn't know whether it's real or it's an
Or
imagination.
if you think.
That's when you watch a movie, you're like, nothing's going to happen. I mean, you're in the comfort of your living
Yeah.
room. It's not happening, but your nervous system just...
Yeah.
Why-
That's why
fired
people,
right
people
up.
cry, people jump out of their seats, and people...
Subconscious has no clue. It's all real to it,
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
that's like in the dream world as well. Your brain has no idea. It's a
No
dream.
idea it's a dream. So, what I'm looking at also is watching how little time it takes to really wire up new circuits. So you can break an addiction so easy, but what you got to do is interrupt the pattern so it never
So what about
fires,
people with
right?
like who smoke cigarettes and have alcohol problems and drug problems and eating disorders and stuff like that?
Nerve cells that fire together wire together, right? So that's the first simple concept that you have to. And when they no longer fire together, they no longer wire. The dissociation happens, and you can see the nerve cells starting to break apart.
Amazing.
It's really cool. It's freaking cool.
They just disintegrate.
They just start disattaching or reattaching over somewhere else. It's like, wow, that's so cool. You talked about the people with real addictions. This could be a can of worms, so stop me if you want me to stop. But I get excited. I'm excited.
Oh, we
about
brought you here.
I'm
man.
easily
Yeah.
excited. So,
This could be a 2 or 3 parter.
I'm up.
Oh,
I'm in. I don't
Jesus.
live that far, boys. One of the things that you find is the common denominator that I never used to see was a lack of self-love. And
For people with bad addictions.
the thing is, you think about if you come
Self-love?
to the place where you have true self-love, there's so many things that you just don't entertain. They're not entertainable.
Right.
But if you have the suffering-based, what Jason Christoff taught me, and what he kind of coins the term of suffering-based mind virus. It's like a virus on a computer. You never see it coming. You don't know when it got there, how it got there, but it's running programs and shit. There's crazy stuff going on in the computer. It's inexplainable. You didn't do it. And what you're finding is the same thing happens in someone's subconscious. It's like you have almost no conscious recollection of what happened pre being 7 years old.
Right.
And since we're the meaning
That's
maker,
true, yeah.
since we're the meaning makers as children, any idea
All the
into a fragile
stories
mind,
and-
story or idea into a fragile mind can lock in and wire, because the child doesn't have any ability to discern whether that information is going to serve them or not serve
Right.
them, good
They
or bad,
just take
true or
whatever, they just
false.
sponge it in.
And then it is wired in the nervous system. They did a documentary called 7 Up. And psychologists tracked people for, I think it was 30 or 40 years. And what they did is they had a whole team of psychologists who basically placed bets. That's my understanding. It's just a quick interpretation. But they placed bets on how a child would turn out based on observing them at the age of 7. So they'd spend time with them. And they said, listen, here's what I expect this kid to do later on in life. In almost every single case, they were right. And
Really?
the kid,
What?
90% of the kids who were told they might end up in jail, even as a joke from their parents before 7 years old, were all in prison.
Oh my
Wow.
So
god.
they tracked them later on in life. So they found before 7.
What's the study called?
It's 7 Up.
So
7 Up.
if the kid does something bad, be like, oh, don't do that, you're going to end up in jail. You're going to go to jail.
90% of them ended up in jail. If they were told they were going to go to jail as a child, 90% of them ended up there. And I don't remember the exact number. So,
So the 2 millimeter there would be, instead of saying you're going to jail, it's like you're going to be a success in life. And it
Sure.
would change everything.
It could change everything.
Jesus.
The stories that would get put in. Now, you see, we live in a world surrounded by institutions that want to manipulate us, and people find that hard to believe. And they sound like it sounds like a conspiracy, because most people have no idea what they're talking about. They can't back it up factually, and they don't know where these things began. So someone's saying it wild-eyed. Someone's like, "Oh, here we go again."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
well, no, I can back. Most things are very easily provable. You just didn't go look for the facts.
Yeah.
Like the people we saw who never read one educational book post graduation. What would you expect them to know?
Right.
So, you're taught the information that you want to know. And so, anyway, back to the point. Let me finish one stream of thought here.
Yeah.
The lack of self-love. So, you see, if you tell a kid certain things when they're before they're 7, and they start to get this idea in their head that they're not worthy of love in some way, they start to lose their self-love, or you tell them they're a sinner, before the age of 7, that stays in their mind forever. Because
It's part of the programming.
It's part of the programming, and so now when self-love is gone, now the mind is open to all kinds of things. Not only that, there's lots of institutions out
Any
there.
type of reinforcement from your environment, like teachers and friends that reinforce those stories before you're 7 years old, just makes those bonds even stronger.
100%. And once they're wired up, the studies show 95 to 99% of your life is governed by your subconscious. That's why 7 Up is so profound. So
Holy
you
crap.
develop a conscious mind, but it's not really running your life. You need the subconscious, so you don't have to think about tying your shoe, and you don't really think about
Right.
driving, you don't think about running and using your body. Your nervous system's wired up to do the things that you train it
You
for.
don't have to
but-
consciously breathe all the time. And
yeah, your heart's beating all the time. It's pumping running a cardiovascular system that wraps around the equator twice, a lymphatic system that's twice that size. Your body just manages all of that. It's the subconscious is powerful, except if it gets a mind virus, and a lot of institutions sell suffering as a benefit. A lot of movies sell, that concept.
Right.
So now what you're having
Like
is
praising suffering, you mean?
sure. It's rewarded often. I mean, let's take the most simple,
You gotta
basic.
sacrifice. You gotta.
Sure.
Yeah.
And let's take the most basic example, and we can extrapolate. If you want to get controversial, we can get really controversial on the show. But let's take the most basic example of the manifestation of the hero's journey. You guys ever heard of the hero's journey?
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
The concept is, and you watch a lot of our movies. Like, I was a huge Rocky fan growing up. And, people would say, well, you're self-sabotaging. And I was like, come on, I'm definitely not that guy. I'm definitely not that guy. And then for years, until I had a one-on-one with Anthony Robbins, did he show me, holy shit, I was that guy.
Self-sabotager.
Yeah, totally self-sabotaging. Not body abusing, but self-sabotaging success in some ways.
Getting
Oh
to the
my
next level.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Michelle's like that too.
Wow.
Before she started her coaching.
Right.
Very self-sabotaging.
And I
Subconscious.
Subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm asking Tony Robbins this thing, and he's if he starts talking, in my present state of ignorance at the time, I said, Tony, I think for the first time you might be wrong, respectfully. I'm not saying I know something you don't. I just maybe you should ask me a few more questions. I don't know if that's the root cause of what's happening for me. You know? I'm thinking like, hey, talking about me.
Yeah, Tony, I'm smarter than you. It's okay.
No, I said, Tony, I stood up because I know you know a lot more than I am. I'm here to learn from you. Like I'm not being arrogant. I just don't know if you properly diagnosed this one. You know?
Okay.
You know, sure enough, as he keeps talking, I was like, "There's a fissure just going, down the." Anyway,
Wow.
and I off the path again. So I was talking about the self-love. So the manifestation of the hero's journey happens. You watch the Rocky movies, for example, right? We all love this underdog concept. And there was a guy who wrote a book about all the same themes that happen in books about this underdog.
Archetypes, yeah.
The archetypes, yeah. And there's about 22 steps, I think he showed, and many of the movies would have like 17, 18 of them.
Yeah.
So we're always seeing this underdog, this major struggle and all that stuff. And that starts to program us that we need to struggle to get the things that we want. And it always seems more
Life is so hard. Life is such a struggle.
You got to put in the time.
It seems so glorious and triumphant after. You know? So a lot of people feel like, well, I'm not worthy of success. I gotta go through some of the struggle first before I get there. Which is not really true, but we're really wired up like that. So you take this idea of the manifestation, the hero's journey. Now you feel like you need to create a lot of suffering already in your life. So that's when some people, they create. It's like they start manifesting these bad chapters of their life. So later on, the story will be, will be better for them.
Dramatic.
You know what? A lot of people. I mean, even in my life, I've seen the same, similar problems happen over and over and over again, like the same mountain to climb until I figure out what the hell I'm doing wrong, and it usually is inside, and you just got to fix it.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard.
So
A lot of it's in the subconscious, and that's why Joe Dispenza's been just so in my ear. I'm buzzing to hear him about All right, Joe. Now, what's the next distinction? How do you change that? How do you go from that? Because if I ask someone all the time, really, it's one of the greatest tricks anyone can ask themselves before you're making a decision on anything in life: is this self-loving? Am I loving myself by making this choice versus that choice?
How do you define self-love?
Just anything that leads you to your best life. Just keep it really simple, right? If
self-care,
do I decide to have
taking care of
yourself, if I'm choosing between a Coke and a green juice, and I say which one of these is going to be self-loving today? Am I going to exercise or not exercise? Which one is self-loving to me? I mean, a lot of people are very
should I rest or should I just keep going?
Sure. A lot of people have a deep misunderstanding about what proper exercise is, but everyone knows that it's good for them and they ought to be doing it. Right? So simple things like that. Now all of a sudden, you imagine you come along and let's say you're a really self-loving person. I have a really high self-love quotient. It's not ego, and we're taught that pride's bad in our society, which is really weird. So when you feel pride, you should feel guilty about that. It's really stupid. more childhood programming of nonsense. And if you guys ever want to hear where it all comes from, we can get into that. Controversial though. But the thing is, now someone comes to me and they say, listen, Terry, you're sick and you need a surgery, and I think the best thing for you is to cut this thing out. What do you think the odds are of me even entertaining that, Yeah, sure, I'm going to let some strangers sign me up for anesthesia, which is extremely dangerous in and of itself, and I'm going to let them just come in, a total stranger, and start cutting shit. Just cutting shit out of my body. Surely
here's a scalpel.
Yeah, he'll cut out a bunch of my organs, and surely I'll be healthier after that. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. He knows everything. He's got the paperwork.
If you really love yourself, you don't even entertain those ideas. Hey, here's some chemotherapy. Hey, did you know it's mustard gas? It's a derivative of mustard gas, written in the Merck manual, burns whole through concrete.
Wait. Chemotherapy.
Is a derivative of mustard gas.
What?
Yeah, and which we don't use in wars anymore. Yeah. And, studies showing pharmacists that handle it with machines and gloves that might be kind of helping it the last pill into the bottle kind of a concept have dramatically increased risks of cancer rates simply from handling chemo. It's documented in the Merck manual that chemo causes cancer. It's been shown to have zero effectiveness. Real studies have shown as less than 3 to 5% effectiveness. And if you guys really want to dig into the cancer equation, I'll explain how that works to explain to you that 3 to 5% is a lie too. It's actually zero because you can't heal with poison. Right. So hey,
can't kill poison with poison.
You're gonna lose all your hair. You're gonna feel like shit. You're gonna do all these things. Sure, sign me up.
Yeah.
Someone who loves himself doesn't entertain that. Smoking kills, whatever. They did studies show you that the subconscious is running the life and showing you that it's the mind virus taking control. They did studies on pharmaceutical drugs, and the longer the list of side effects, and the one that included death outsells the one that doesn't have it every single time. And 2, of the
Incredible.
identical drugs.
What?
That's why the side effects are the majority of the commercial now. The pharmaceutical companies figured
Yeah.
out that they're talking to the subconscious mind virus that's going to march on over to the pharmaceuticals and pick it up. They're not hiding the side
wild.
effects because they know the side
So
effects
subconsciously-
increase the buying rate.
So
Why?
subconsciously,
How does it?
for people, the more side effects you have, the more risk of death.
More
Subconsciously,
purchases.
people think it's better for you.
Suffering has a benefit.
That's it.
Oh my god! It's because the whole hero complex.
It goes way past the hero complex, but and I use that as a simple metaphor to try and be easy on the listener. So if they want to tune in later to the controversial section, maybe we'll talk about that then, where this idea comes from. But yeah, what they're doing is they're talking to the subconscious. If you can convince someone's subconscious mind that suffering has a benefit in any shape, way, or form, no matter how that happens in a young child's mind, they're going to lead themselves on a path to destruction. They're on a body abuse pathway all the time. It's not hard to see it anymore. Because you ask someone who really loves themselves, hey, smoke. And then some people say, well, it's just the conscious mind. You want the conscious mind, by the way, the greatest addiction on the planet is problems. There's no doubt about that. The greatest addiction on the planet is
Problems
problems.
of the future or regrets of the past.
Yeah, they're making it up, right? Hey, listen, if I can get you to connect with me, I could be significant. If I have a significant problem, you ever hear a bunch of people who are driven by this? They get in a room and they
that's all they
commiserate.
talk about.
You think you fell down the stairs? I fell down 7.5 flights.
Your day was shit.
Yeah, you think your cholesterol pill's bad? My doctor said he can't control mine, so he gave me a new experimental one, and I take 2 and 3 in extra doses.
Yeah.
They're bragging about it. So the greatest...
It's like a contest of whose life is worse.
Whose life
Yeah.
sucks the most. Yeah. The thing is, here's the problem. You can get significance and which is the primary need that drives that. You can get significance in lots of ways. You can go and face all of your fears, go out and make your life an inspiration, try and make it a masterpiece, and do something good with your life. You can go out and do that all the time, but you got to face all your fears to do that, and that's a trajectory. That's a path. You don't arrive at success overnight. You guys are students of success,
Right?
And I'm sure you're doing well in life, but to get to the place where you really ultimately want to be, that's a journey. But hey, tearing someone else down, that's easy to get significance. Getting problems, that's fast. That's even faster.
Yeah.
Making other people small, that's no problem.
Sure. And I want to connect. If I want to connect with you, Oliver, holy shit, my arm just got cut off. Oh my God, Terry, what? I got your full attention. I got your full attention. I'm totally significant. I'm certain you're going to connect with me. I'm totally certain about it. If my problem's big enough, I've got you. But the truth is, beyond the conscious, it's still subconscious driven.
Yeah.
So,
it's a freaking
answer.
sickness.
That was a long answer.
This is a sickness.
Yeah,
man.
it is. But if you can get someone back to self-love, they can break any addiction so easy.
So what? Okay,
Because when you love yourself, you don't consider these things.
how do you deprogram yourself with all this bombardment and people who are already reinforcing it, and your surroundings that are reinforcing all of this mind sickness? How the hell do you deprogram yourself?
How do you get back to self-love?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that because, I spent a lot of time on this and I did a whole subconscious reprogramming series. I'm still learning. In fact, I think one of the greatest
You're doing
ways...
a recording right now.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them. I've got a lot of them on this concept, and I'm still learning. One of the reasons that I teach is because I learn when I teach.
More. Yeah.
I learn when I teach because it also forces me
highest.
to deepen my distinctions before I've got to step up too, right? So because everything's about distinctions. Generalizations is what screw everybody up.
Yeah.
If you're into generalizations, you can't even. People are so programmed with generalizations they can't even see contradiction when it smacks them in the forehead. They're talking about two contradictory, totally opposing ideas. Can't see through that.
Right.
Right. But if you're into distinctions, you can start to say, well, this is true, kind of, and it's also not true. Kind of, because the distinction shows you, well, it's right in these situations, but it's not right in those situations,
So you mean new distinctions is what's going to help you deprogram yourself?
Well, it's one of the things, the first question I ask people is, first of all, who is not worthy of love? What you find is when someone doesn't love themselves, they don't really have too many good reasons as to why. In fact, most times they haven't given any thought. Again, it's a subconscious thing. So
They feel like you don't deserve it. Right?
So who's not worthy of love? And for someone, if you're listening,
Everyone's worthy
if you're
of love.
listening, exactly. Start writing down the reasons why someone would not be worthy of love, and you're not going to spend too long with that pen and paper before you realize, well, everyone's worthy of love. Mm-hmm. You may not have to be loved by everybody. Not everyone digs your thing,
right?
But everyone's deserving of love, and it doesn't take long to get to that. Every beliefs are powerful, but every belief is like the
criminals
table.
and stuff? What about criminals and people who are evil?
The same thing happens. I mean, they do studies with criminals. I give you two really interesting points, and I'll come back to this one if you remind me.
That's not me. I'm just thinking what other people would think.
No. Two interesting happens with criminals. Number one, they take studies where they feed criminals real food because your food totally affects your mind and your mood big time, and violence levels drop dramatically, through the roof. Even parole officers have now figured out if they can control the parolees' diet, that they're not going to have any problems with them.
Wow.
Yeah, so people have totally dramatically underestimate how much your food affects your mood and your brain and all the neurocircuitry and stuff like that. And they did a study take like a lot of food allergens. Most people think that the food guide is honest. What could be wrong with a good, wholesome 12-grain slice of bread?
Yeah.
Everything, actually. But most people are totally delusional to that. They took a schizophrenic hospital, and these are schizophrenics. These people really lost their mind. They're not able to even maintain their identity. These people really lost it, and they take them off gluten and gliadin, and 100% of the hospital went home.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
100%.
What?
Yeah. So, you realize that food allergens really screw with your head, and we're just totally drastically
So food
underestimating.
allergens like soy, dairy, gluten. What else
Sure.
is there?
Yeah, those are the main ones. I always tell people, like,
Those are the common allergens.
yeah, you don't need to, everyone thinks they got to get a special test, because most people actually just love the significance of telling the test, talking
Yeah.
about the test.
And
I got
you
the
don't-
test, and I'm allergic to these 850 things.
Yeah. They just identify themselves with, I'm allergic to this.
Yeah,
and
with,
that.
with victimhood. And then some of these tests are not accurate. These tests come out showing someone that they're allergic to blueberries and strawberries and bananas. I'm like, no one's allergic to the food your body's designed for. Cut the crap out. Let's just cut out the main allergens and cut them out for a long period of time.
And then see what happens.
And see what happens. Studies have shown that some foreign proteins from the grains will stay in the blood for 7 years.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So that's why people say, I tried that gluten-free shit for a month and nothing happened. It's all bullshit. No, sorry, princess. It's not bullshit. You just didn't stay the course.
Yeah.
Like everything else in your life, you quit. We have a society of quitters.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had a friend who's allergic to nuts, and he found out like 27 years after that he's able to eat almonds. And this is his whole life. He's like, I couldn't have nuts, period. Then all of a sudden, he's not allergic to almonds.
Well, the other thing that happens too is like the way the immune system works, without getting too complicated, is like, what excites the immune system so much and causes all the problems. Let's say is you get foreign proteins in the gut. Real simply, your stomach's like a spaghetti strainer. You eat something that doesn't belong. Let's say wheat has, I think it's 28,000 proteins, if I recall right, and it's
Most
most
28,000 proteins.
different kinds of
And
proteins.
your body cannot digest that.
So a lot of them are
No
too
way.
small, and they escape basically the spaghetti strainer. It's a simple analogy. They escape the spaghetti strainer. Now they're into the immune system. They got into the body not through normal digestion. Now the body's going to attack it like a foreign invader. So now your immune system starts creating inflammation. All these crazy things are happening in your body, and then eating foods that might not be that bad for you, like nuts. Your body's overreacting because it's hypersensitive because it's already battling all kinds of other things. But if your blood was clean, I'm hard-pressed to believe that anyone would be allergic to nuts. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's the odd exception to the rule, but in most cases, that's what's really
Some
happening.
kids are born, like I hear they're born allergic to nuts, some of these kids. Like, how does that happen? Is like that from the parents?
A lot of allergies also start with vaccines.
Shit.
People
Well,
wanna
you gotta
believe
get
that.
vaccines as soon as you're born, right?
Well, you don't
force-
got it. You don't got anything.
You don't
thank
have
God.
to.
Most
They
people
force
are.
you to, don't they?
Well, they're trying. They try, but you don't have to. There are exemptions to everything.
And what about
you
school?
Just walk away.
Well, the boy,
Like
my
hepatitis
kids
B
have
shot
not
and
been
all those shots.
vaccinated.
Congratulations.
Nothing at all.
There are exemptions for the school system
The last one I did was in grade 8 for like hepatitis C or something like that.
I'm not
And
saying
like,
I
after
did-
that. Screw. I'm like, I'm not taking.
I'm not saying I
anything in
didn't
my
do
body.
it, and at the family's present state of ignorance at that time, that's what we did.
Yeah,
We got talked in all those scams.
yeah.
It's
We
like
had no idea.
buying into the food guide. It was just buying into another scam.
Yeah.
That was written by
The
the
sheeple.
industry lobbies, and the government just passed it on. This wasn't written based on science. Humans aren't omnivores for starters. Another topic of you want to take a look at a true omnivore, go and study the bear. He's the most omnivorous creature in nature, and take a look at what you have in common with the bear. Nothing. You ever see his teeth? Are you kidding? His paws are like whap, kill anything. With one. That's not humans. Our fingernails break when we nick it on the table
Yeah,
in the
little-
corner.
little
It's
bitch
like
nails.
these are not claws designed to rip into shit. But anyway. You talked about back to the self-love thing. I think it's probably something that's important to talk about because a lot of people suffer from this lack of self-love. So I think the first question is, who's not worthy of love? And it's like any belief. A belief sits on like a table with a bunch of legs, and as soon as you kick out one leg, the table becomes very unsturdy.
Yep.
And you start kicking out another leg, and you kick out
Good
another leg,
metaphor.
You shake that belief, and
you
then you
shake
can
that
change it.
belief. And you got to break those beliefs about your reasons why you're not worthy of your best life. And if you can condition it in your nervous system, like really condition it, and that's all. Master anything, spaced repetition, immersion, and peer group.
Yep.
Start
You
surrounding
guys should take a pen out.
Start surrounding yourself with other people who are self-loving and have good rituals. Because one of the ways that you train the brain and the subconscious and the nervous system is by rituals of self-love. Even if you don't currently love yourself, force them into your life, and eventually you're sending a signal to your brain all the time that I'm into self-love now. One ritual of self-love is drinking more water, exercising regularly, choosing to eat the foods that your body's designed for, having fruits and vegetables, eating healthy foods, making good choices, tossing out the microwave. There's lots of rituals of self-love that you can, going to bed at a reasonable time, taking rest when it's needed. And you start doing these rituals of self-love, and you start reading the books, tuning into positive people, tuning into great radio stations, reading to, get on YouTube, start following people, create that spaced repetition, the immersion, and the peer group. And there's no way through osmosis that you can't wire the brain.
So this is just you really just programming yourself now. You choose
have
to
to
program it.
You have to program yourself. You're going to have
Yeah,
to.
brainwash yourself.
Sure. And rituals of self-love can get you there. And as long as you stick with it long enough, eventually your beliefs start to become different. Why don't people go out and start a business? Why don't they go out and get control of their financial destiny? They're just over broke, or they're on the journey of the broke, whatever you want to call it. They're struggling. They're struggling. They're in debt. They've got credit cards that there's no way they can get out of. If they were remotely honest with themselves, and you take an interest calculator, if you got $10,000 of debt, you're not getting out. It only takes about that amount to the point that mathematically, until your income dramatically increases, you're never getting out of it. And go get a new job is like trying to get a bigger bucket to carry from the lake over,
Right.
or build a pipeline instead. But why don't people? It's what you believe is possible for yourself. But your belief builds as you study successful people. You listen to autobiographies of successful people all the time who've done the things that you want to do, and your belief just has to go up. It's osmosis.
So how does this impact your interaction with others? Because obviously you're very self-aware, you're very knowledgeable about a huge, like a broad range of topics, and it's enticing for us to try and influence other people's ideas and things like that. How does that affect you when you're interacting with other people? Are you trying to educate them, or is it like when they ask, or like how's your journey been when it comes to that?
Yeah, I'm always just trying to raise people up. I think it's really sad and tragic that people have all these self-imposed limitations about what's possible for their life. And what you go and I have this it's like a weight loss program kind of a thing. I help Tina lose 50 pounds in 100 days. So everyone's asking, how'd you do it? So I put that in a recording about teaching the science about how that gets done.
That's awesome.
And then I hear the stories about a lot of people who say, well, listen, I don't know how, I can't work out, and I've got this problem and that problem. They got a million stories, and they're all BS stories.
Right.
But why they can't do something? And I said, well, get on YouTube and go and look up Nick Vujicic and type in "no legs, no arms, no worries" on YouTube.
I've seen that.
And tell me about your problems after. I don't want to hear them.
I freaking cried when I saw that for the first time.
I watch it regularly in spaced immersions because I really try to look at stuff that I'm teaching to remind myself. And I'm almost in tears every time I watch it. And I watched it again this morning.
Wow. Just to keep you grateful.
It keeps you grateful. Always gives you context and perspective for life. Context changes everything. And that's the same way with you when you want to influence someone. I was at a conference call last night I hosted talking about this idea that you change context with people, and that changes the content.
Right.
See, one of Anthony Robbins' greatest secrets for influencing people is always to pre-frame, reframe, and deframe the context that someone sees something. And, you get them in an altered state by using metaphors and telling a story. It's like an indirect negotiation. And now change is available and possible to them. So I back to your question, because I'm rambling. I'm bad for that. I came across this concept from Claire Graves. Anthony Robbins again taught it. I hate to say that. He's one of my number one mentors for sure, but not the only person that I listen to. And he has this concept called the 8 levels of consciousness. And it describes, everyone has to go through a sequential progression through these 8 levels. There's no skipping. You don't just end up here and we all have certain elements of all the 8 levels, but you progress to get there. It's just and I did a conference call, and it's on Google for anyone who wants to go and look it up. And it's a great way to be introspective and take a look at the mirror of your life and say, now, where am I now? Like Einstein said, you can't solve the problems of your life.
Yeah, what level are you at?
What level am I at? And what's it going to take to get there? What lies ahead? Most people have never even considered that something may lie ahead.
Yeah. Well, knowing where you're at is huge already in itself.
And studies have shown most people, by the time they hit adulthood, never move even one level the rest of their whole lives.
Wow.
I find that really tragic because there's so much there available to you. But, your problems in your life are a direct reflection of the level of consciousness you're at. Einstein wasn't a dumb guy. He had it right. So you go and take a look at these 8 levels, you get a little introspective, you take a look in the mirror, and who cares if it's not pretty? A leader, the prime directive of a leader is, number 1, see things as they are. Not better, not worse. Now, number 2 is you formulate a plan for where you want to go, and number 3, you put it into action. So you go and see where you are, and you say, listen, okay, I'm at this level of consciousness now, and this is where I want to grow to. And then you just get on the path of growth and personal development. And, I've moved up quite a few levels, I guess, in my life, and interaction with people sometimes is different. It's certainly different. Like, I have a lot of old friends and, unfortunately, family where I still love them to death, and we work hard to try and find common ground. But there's not a lot of common ground anymore.
Yeah, the conversation is not
deep
or there's no growth from it.
And eventually you get tired of that. I read a broad spectrum.
Do you feel
of books.
bad? Do you feel guilty that you can't interact with friends and family like you used to?
No, I don't. I feel sad for them more than anything.
Do you?
No.
I'm
just like, we're different levels, different conversation, whatever.
It's
it's a different world.
There's a great quote.
It's a different language. It's like a different language. You can't.
Yeah, no, that's what it is.
It's not your job to try and teach them or try and bring them with you, really.
Well, I try.
Unless they're, expressing
Unless
that
they have an interest. Yeah, I don't feel sorry at all.
And that's what the show's for. The show is
family.
just like a passive, leveraged way to do that.
Yeah.
You can't waste your life thinking about what other people aren't doing.
Yeah,
You just gotta
exactly.
do what you do.
If you're, your life is kind of defined by the conversations that you have in many ways. People never stop and think about that. So one of the questions I like to ask people is, what's the conversation of your life? If you're honest with it, what is the conversation of your life? And then, don't a lot of people just want to tear out someone else down as they see them growing and doing well. But you take a look at your life and you say, well,
they'll feel like they're being left behind.
Well, they are, right? But they could choose it. It's not hard to choose. I'm not born special. There's nothing unique about me. Everyone's life can be great. If you have the capacity to learn, which, by the way, if you can speak a language and walk, you have the capacity to learn because you already proved that.
Yeah.
So now you can make anybody.
You already have a brain.
Anybody can make their life great. Anybody. And because as long as you have the capacity to learn, no matter what you want to achieve, all you got to be able to do is be willing to go and learn. Success leaves clues, and so does failure. So go and look at other people and what they're doing. But like you said, if the conversation of your life is broad spectrum, if you study geopolitical stuff and global economics, and you study business and psychology and philosophy, and you get into philosophy and you study quantum physics and you're studying neural nets and you're on the path of mastery and you're reading lots of books on a variety of subjects, and you study health and naturopathic medicine, you start studying all these things, I'm open to connecting with someone at any one of those conversations. I just don't want to talk about. I just don't want to talk about the damn weather or gossiping about other people. So that's where the common ground breaks. So
what about the Euro Cup?
So I know nothing about it. It's like people who've never been to Italy or their great grandfather might have been Italian. Go Italy, go, and the flags come out.
And they go crazy. I heard people honking and going nuts today.
It's like George Carlin says. I never understood the idea of being proud about something you didn't achieve or accomplish, something that happened to you by osmosis. You didn't do anything. Why are you proud about it? And I don't even like this idea of countries and divisions between race, culture, religion, all that stuff. People say
imaginary borders.
So where are you from? I'm human.
I'm from Earth.
I look kind of white. I'm a white male, and I'm human. I'm not Canadian. Aren't you proud to be Canadian? No. For starters, I'm not. I don't think being the most tax serfs on the planet is something to be proud about, neither. With over 200 taxes, we're the most tax serfs on the earth, and then people just pass.
Hey, we just passed tax day. Apparently, I don't know if that's a real tax day.
It's not the real tax day. It's bullshit. Total bullshit. But. You take a look at the gas taxes. I mean, there's taxes on everything that you buy. It's non-stop taxes. Yet before World War I, there were no taxes. But more important than that, I just don't really believe. I think you evolve to a level of consciousness and you realize that, I'm human. That's it. And we're all human. It's not about race, religion, culture.
That's sort of where when we started to really connect, is because we had that common ground about how the world actually works and what is actually going on behind the curtain, especially from being exposed to, alternative media, alternative types of knowledge. And, you can be filled with anger. I mean,
yeah.
Have you gone through a phase where
I had a phase.
And you passed through it?
I was totally in anger phase.
So what, what happened? Why were you angry and what happened there?
If people wanted to peel back the matrix, take off the glasses, you understand that you see the whole world from your glasses. I'll give you a great little metaphor I shared last night. Cool study. So psychologist took these kids and he had this cube, 4-sided cube, get different colors on it, and he would flip it to him, show the kid, and then he would say, listen, okay, do you see red here? Okay. And you see there's blue here, right?
Right.
So he would turn it over and say, now what color do you see? Red. What color do I see? The kid would always answer red. He repeated the study over and over again, even with the same kids up to 100 times.
What?
And they could not see his perspective. And it was the greatest metaphor for, you have a hard time seeing the world only from your tunnel vision. You think that's just how things are. No,
Right.
no. Those are your glasses. And as you expand your horizons,
tunnel
that's not
vision.
true, right? So the kid could not get past the point that when he flipped the block over, that the person on the other side was looking at a different color than he was.
Yeah.
And kids aren't dumb.
Really?
Couldn't get that simple concept. It's the greatest metaphor for people who have a hard time understanding and appreciating anything outside of their world. Even the concept that they're wearing glasses from which they view the earth and how they view things. It's crazy.
Yeah, what they
And-
see is just their perspective.
You know, I think it was MLK. He said something like, it's really stupid. Parents really haven't thought this through. Why are we sending our kids and letting the enemy educate them? You know? Why are we doing that? The government's not your friend. You know, why do people get this idea the government's your friend?
They get their hands in your pocket.
It's highway robbery. It's very coercive by nature. It's a monopolized violence, and they always got your hand in your pocket. Always buy a little more, and it's theft.
But we need all those services that they provide, though, like roads and
healthcare. You're really trying to zap me today. I'm getting pricked here. No, there's two ways that humans can get along. Real simply, is that you can either get along by cooperation or get along by coercion. You guys didn't force me to be here. You're not forcing me to talk currently. We're getting along just fine.
Yeah,
And
we hit the gun.
and we don't need anyone. And we don't need anyone to police this thing. And people say, "Well, there'd be crime and there'd be whatever." Well, there's a great video on YouTube. There's an older woman, probably in her 70s, and she did a top 10 reasons why the mafia is surely preferable to the
I
government.
saw that one.
And they're indisputable facts. She said,
Wow.
"The mafia only
I
wants
gotta
10.
watch that.
The mafia only wants 10%." You know,
and you actually get protection.
and you actually get protection.
Yeah.
She goes on about this great. If you can be unemotional and be objective about analyzing something, people have a hard time turning off their emotions and be objective. To say, well, who cares if my matrix crumbles? I just want to know the truth. Whatever that truth may be, I want to know what it is. Go and listen to that video, and the facts are indisputable.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, crime is driven by poverty. Banks and governments create scarcity. They create scarcity artificially by nature, by design, through inflation and lots of other really technical mechanisms that, you really got to flesh that out to help people understand with no background in that. But, you study economics and you study the banking system and you study the history of governments. And there's never been a government in the history of the planet that didn't oppress their people. Like, it's never happened. And it's not by the people, for the people. Your vote doesn't count. George Carlin's got this great thing called the American Okie Doke that I just love. He said, the cops are on your side, the government's your friend, the good guys always win. All these bullshit lines that people just repeat all the time, And he's like, it's really stupid, Joe Rogan.
That's brainwashing right
Yeah,
there.
the brainwashing. It's just the program. And everyone's got the same thing on repeat.
Reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan's got some great stuff on that too. It's a God bless America. He's almost patriotism and war.
The War Machine, the American War Machine
American
video.
War Machine. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's brilliant and so insightful. And you just stop. If you can stop anything and totally remove yourself from the matrix to see it objectively as it is, it becomes crystal clear.
And what about people who are exposed to the truth and they just stick to what they used to know, even though they've been exposed to it?
That seed's
what?
always planted. That seed's always germinating.
Start something. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't turn that off.
Yeah.
You as much as you want to turn that off, it's like the child who gets implanted with the mind virus.
Because even just in the last 10 years, from the conversation that I was having before with when I was in university to now, it seems like more people are open. More people are really open to the truth.
The
Than 10 years ago. So I think you're right. I think the seed, even though when it's planted and people are still stuck to their beliefs, eventually they're going to reach that point where just like,
Because eventually,
what the hell's going on?
things will start to happen in that person's life. Well, they'll start to see, oh yeah, you know what? That's not right. The government's not supposed to do that. This is not supposed to happen. Life's not supposed to be this way, and it just sort of builds.
Well, this idea that there's altruism behind the law and the cops and all that stuff. All you got to do is go on Dun & Bradstreet, which is a global registry of private for-profit corporations. That's what they do. And they sell a service to large corporation sales forces to get intel on a company. And all you got to do is go on there and figure out that the government of Canada is a private corporation, every courthouse is a private corporation, every
city is a corporation.
Every city is a corporation. And it's right in front of your eyes if you would take off the glasses. When you get mailed something from the city, it says the corporation of Brampton. It says the corporation right on it. The police stations are for-profit private corporations. You see this is a lot worse in the U.S. and it happens worse in other parts of the world. But this idea of taxation is theft. It's not about protecting. It's not about protecting, but it's the greatest guys to sell that idea, and people will swallow it whole because you get so ingrained and accustomed to the idea since childhood.
What about the whole Occupy Wall Street, the Marxist people, the people who are like anti-capitalism? The corporations are
just misled. You know, it's not about being insulting. They just haven't done their homework and studied what's really happening. And it's a damn shame. You know, I saw a group marching the other day for in Mississauga, democracy signs and whatever. And that's such a mixed reaction. There's a part of me just loves that the death of apathy is on the doorstep.
Yeah,
because I hate apathy even worse. I hate apathy even worse.
Apathy is worse than that, yeah.
But this delusion that we live in a democracy, I mean, you hear Americans talking about all the time. It was founded as a constitutional republic. They never wanted a democracy. It's not a democracy. And here they're, democracy, we're spreading democracy around the world. Hey, democracy's mob rule, you douche.
So who would you vote for? I mean, who would you vote for?
Nobody. It's all an illusion. It's just an illusion. You know?
What about Ron Paul?
And the crazy thing...
What about Ron Paul?
Ron Paul is someone I would consider because he opens the mind away from the Matrix. He's the populace.
More as like an educational.
The populace is not ready for anarchy. Okay, and by anarchy I don't mean lawlessness and craziness. By anarchy I mean everyone just gets along by cooperation. All it means is everyone gets along by cooperation. That's all anarchy is. Voluntary interaction, non-violence. That's it. That's all we're talking about anarchy. The populace is not ready for that. Ron Paul's like a great transition step. He's a wonderful transition step, though.
Centuries before that happens.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I hope not. I like to believe that in the quantum world right now, there's you guys ever heard of the 100 Monkeys effect?
No.
It's one of the most profound, powerful things that's always stuck with me, and it always will, because they took monkeys and they put researchers on various different continents, different parts of the world, different kinds of monkeys. And they would take one group of monkeys and train them to get a new skill. And once they had enough monkeys, in terms of, I think it was like only a fraction of a percent, I believe, was the number. If they could get, once the new monkeys had that skill, globally, instantaneously, all the monkeys around the world had that same skill, and the babies were being born innately with that skill. Let your mind sit on that. There's a quantum tipping point that there's all this interconnectedness. You know, I talked earlier about just seeing myself as human, not as a Canadian. First of all, I see myself as a part of the living matrix, you know?
Part of nature.
Quantum physics has shown very clearly that we communicate with plants. There's a two-way communication. You may not sense it or feel it. Your heart field is like, got a massive radius.
Is this a spiritual thing, or is this science?
I hate the word spiritual, because I think everyone's got so many neuroassociations to the word, it clouds everything. To me, it is a quantum world.
It's not mysticism. It's
not mysticism. It's documentable, provable. Many research studies have shown it, and it's just an interconnected web for all living things, and we're a part of that same matrix.
Like Avatar.
Avatar's
like
not
when you
far off.
freaking connect to the...
Exactly. Avatar had...
I wish I had one of those.
Avatar had a lot of truisms. A lot of truisms to it. Not all truisms. Yeah. There are truisms. They're ish. Again, if you want to generalize... If you had the generalist mind...
people like that, like James Cameron, they're planting those seeds and preparing us. Like the movie The Matrix. It's preparing us for what the truth is.
The Matrix was not just a movie. If anyone wants to go and take a look at that with objective eyes, you're going to see that wasn't just a movie, But anyway, the quantum field. So what happened is if a certain amount of monkeys learned that skill globally, instantaneously, they all had the skill. The new baby monkeys were being born innately with that skill.
So does that happen with humans?
And so the same thing happened with humans, because we're all part of the matrix. So as soon as there's enough awareness, like you hit that tip, I believe that we're going to hit a tipping point. You know, the Mayans talked about this and stuff. There's a critical mass tipping point where there's a knowingness that if everyone finally opens their eyes to enough truth, enough truisms, starts to see the illusion starts to fall apart that they're living in. They're living in a movie. The Matrix wasn't you know, as soon as that happens and enough people have just serious clarity on it, I think instantaneous there's like a global ripple effect like it is with the monkeys, where all of a sudden people are just like, the things that used to make sense just simply no longer make sense.
Yeah.
Change can happen so fast. Imagine next year in Brampton, we organize enough group and we had someone who's an internet marketing whiz, and they stir up this concept for Brampton that no one's going to go renew the stickers on their license plate next year. Everyone participates. It ends. It's over. That's done. That scam is completely dismantles itself. One city, one day, one time. Enough people in the population. They can't police it. They can't enforce it. They can't chase it. Another tax, $75 for a sticker. Give me a fucking break.
So stupid.
And the sheep will just line up. And I got to go to the office because you can't mail it to me. Apparently, we forgot about the postal system. You can't just mail it to me. I got to go line up in the office on my time, taking away from my job and my family and all shit. Yeah. Line up in your long ass lineup. Give you $75 to trade you for a sticker.
I just paid a ticket because I turned left in between 4 and 6 p.m. an illegal left turn, and I paid $50. So when I went to the courthouse, the person redirected me. He's like, "Yeah, you have to go to the customer service line," and I'm like, "Am I a fucking customer?"
Of course you are.
And what was the service that I got?
You are a customer.
What was the service? So I went to the girl in the booth, and she was like a beautiful girl, and I'm like. I think you guys really need to change that sign. She's like, what sign? I'm like, it says customer service. They're like, yeah, I agree. This is not customer service. Then I pay my ticket, and I'm like, wait. Why does it say $65? My ticket's $50. Then they're like, there's a victim surcharge. I'm like, who's the victim? Like, I turned left.
Here's the victim surcharge, all right. That's you.
You're the victim surcharge.
I'm the victim and I'm the customer. Like,
you know, they're always implementing a new law, a new reason for the cops to come and tax you. It's a tax. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
The cop pulls you over at 4 a.m. and you're the only guy on the road and he's giving you a harassment. Oh, it's about public safety, really? Yeah. You know, how dumb do I look?
Yeah.
And so I was saying about this tipping point. All of a sudden that goes viral on the internet. Similar to like Greece right now, where they're not standing. There's a mass consciousness that hit a tipping point that they're just not willing to settle. And I wish the Occupy movement did some homework on that. We started talking about that, and I'll come back to if we hit that tipping point, and all of a sudden that goes viral, everyone hears about everyone in Brampton's no longer doing the sticker thing, that collapses. All of a sudden now the things that used to make sense to people no longer make sense. Mm-hmm. And then it's so easy to plant the seed for the next scam that we dismantle because every scam requires our participation. Mm-hmm. Right. People are voluntary slaves. So you think
eventually we'll be able to just stop everything?
I think it's possible.
That critical mass, that's what that is.
Quantum physics has shown it's most certainly possible. Just that awareness and that understanding, eventually, you can see the scam for what it is, and enough people see the scam for what it is.
Get enough
like the freaking the land transfer tax in Toronto, the double land transfer tax? Are you kidding me? Like, how the hell did they get away with it? Just under the radar, 2 taxes.
Where are the sheeple?
And now happens, in the news, like I just randomly saw it like at a restaurant, and it just says it's like, they're talking about reducing it by like a quarter and eventually taking it out. Like, are you kidding me? You're gonna implement double tax, and then now you're talking about trying to take it back? No, that's bullshit.
We should start our own Occupy thing for this.
I know. But no one's complaining. No one's doing anything. Everyone's still paying it.
That's why I like the protesters.
No one protesting.
I like the disappearance of apathy. Love it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this globally. The revolution has started globally. This is not just an idea. The media is not. Channel 6 News isn't showing to you. It's happening in every country of the world. They're marching in the streets by the thousands. People are just saying enough's enough. I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. And I had a point. My point is, if now we could get some sophistication, some distinctions into those who are protesting, now the world could really, really change. Here they are going to the government, and here's what most of the occupiers are saying if you interview them, and I saw a bunch of people interviewing them. Eventually, all they were complaining about is they wanted someone else to take their personal responsibility. The one missing element that makes all society bad and wrong. The government's the problem because they spend too much money, and they're on the street marching for the government to give them more money.
Right.
The government can't fix the problem. You can't fix the same problem at the same level of consciousness that created. The government doesn't fix problems.
They're the problem.
Anyone talking about government as a solution, I know, can't be taken seriously. They haven't thought this. They haven't thought this through.
Right.
And this idea, the bankers tax the rich. How about tax nobody? Theft is theft. Once you see theft is theft, and you get that in your head. These people don't mind if it's theft as long as you're stealing from someone else and giving to me. Hey, fuck, it's great. Sign me up.
Right.
But there's something really wrong about it. It shouldn't be okay for anybody to steal from anybody. No one likes being stolen from. But here they are, steal from the rich, tax the rich, those rich jerks and rich bastards. There are a percentage of the rich, again, where people get these misconceptions and mixed neuroassociations about money being bad. There's a percentage of the rich that is manipulating the hell out of everybody, taking and stealing, and that's how they got rich. But they are like 5% of the 1% that are wealthy,
Right.
or the 3% that are wealthy. It's probably about 2 or 3%. The majority of them got everything they deserve, and no one has the right to
Legitimately,
steal
yeah.
from them. Nobody.
Like they're providing good products, they're providing services, they're employing people, they're running things.
They're making life great.
Yeah.
And they deserved it. And here we are on the
They're the
signs to pay for it.
benefactors.
I can't. You owe me education. Damn it! You owe me this. Is school really education for starters? I graduated 5 times after high school. And thank God I'm still learning, and thank God my mind's still open, because all education's about shutting down the mind. I mean, getting you not to question the things of your reality. If you graduate 5 more times after high school, and I'm still learning, which is good. And what I'm learning is that most of that shit was bullshit.
Yeah.
You realize that you're lied to. I get an MBA, and then as I'm asking all the questions. I take all the international finance questions, and never does my professor, who this is all he does for a living, tell me that the Bank of Canada is a private corporation listed in the white section of the phone book, in the business section of the phone book. And you realize that the Bank of Canada supersedes government. You're like, what? That's fucking. How did I not learn that in school? This guy was teaching me banking and finance and international finance, and he never.
But not
teaching
like
that.
what is.
He
what
never
actually is.
he never clued into the fact that the international banks are superseding all nation states. Like, he never saw that
And
they're all
even,
private.
and even like, what is money? Like,
What is money?
We don't
Yeah.
learn that stuff.
You don't learn that stuff. No, you don't. And people would be shocked if they knew what that was about that.
Yeah.
That's another rabbit hole. But yeah, deep breath here. And then you step outside and you learn that. And that was one of the things you asked me how I got on this journey, and because I should tell a bit of the story. I graduated, and I remember reading a book when I was in college from Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Very simple book.
Wow.
Profound lessons, but
A lot
depth
of
and
people get
simplicity.
started from that book.
Death and
That is a
simplicity.
big one.
It's a life-changing
It's a
book.
mindset,
Life-changing
yeah.
book. If you haven't read it, go. What are you waiting for?
Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, and that book, at the end of it, he also inspired me that learning was good, because I hated reading, believe it or not, at the time. And I
Yeah.
read through that book. It was one of the only books I ever really read for myself. Being in high school, anything I could cut
You were
corners
forced to
on,
read
I didn't do.
everything.
Yeah. By the time I got to college, I started reading because I took courses I was interested in, at least. But
Yeah.
reading on my own time, there wasn't any of that shit happening. And at the end of the book, he started recommending other books, and that's how I came across Anthony Robbins, by the way. So all these catalyst events happen, and that's how I never heard about an MBA. I didn't grow up in a family full of education. I didn't even know what that was. Robert Kiyosaki made me decide that, hey, maybe I want to go and do that. So I went and got one of those. But whatever. And after I graduated and I learned about the Bank of Canada, I started studying with a bunch of gentlemen that were heavily involved in the international finance world. And my mind got open all of a sudden. Not everything is as it seems. Because they started,
Especially once you get out in the
they
real
started
world.
peeling off all these onion layers, and they were like, I can't believe someone who graduated is so open-minded. And I was like, well, thank God I am. I don't know why, but I'm so intrigued. Teach me more. And that got me on the quest for truth. And then I said, you know what? I don't care what the truth is. Hell or high water. I just want to know, and I'm going to look at it objectively and not put my filters and preconceived notions onto things. So I started studying all that stuff. And then I watched a couple
That's
of
a scary world to get into. And, then,
And I had the anger face.
That's the red pill.
I had the anger face. The red pill.
Continue.
And so, and then I watched 2 of my uncles die of cancer. One of whom really wanted to live.
Wow.
And I remember at the time just thinking, I was trying to explain to the family that I knew that I already clued in the fact that wasn't the answer, because I read one of the Anthony Robbins books. He had a few sections on health. And I thought I knew everything about health. I took all the courses in high school. We had trainers for the athletic teams, for our hockey teams, and we had personal trainers that gave us nutrition information. And I thought, this is simple. I got it. And then I'm reading and Tony's got a few chapters on health, and he starts saying everything different than I had ever conceived. And I was like, would Tony risk his multi-billion-dollar whatever reputation on being wrong? And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to be a good student and at least go and try and research just a little bit rather than taking it at face value, because I did that before in high school and that didn't work out so good for me.
Just believing what you're told.
And I got online and I started researching, because he was also providing some great facts. I started researching and I was corroborating everything. And here I was angry because I hated milk. I hated it. But growing up, we believed that if you didn't have some milk,
Best source
Good
of
for your
calcium.
bones.
best superfood on the planet was the story I heard growing up. And if I didn't have it, I was going to have some serious problems later in life. So my parents are trying to force me, and we're sneaking it into foods and all this stuff. And I hate it. And then I go and figure out it's like, the number one poison just about. And I started trying to tell everyone the truth about the things that I had learned through Anthony Robbins about these foods that we thought are good for us are not good for us.
Yeah.
And I started to, and I was getting a lot of resistance. One of the reasons why I study psychology and communication skills more, so I have the ability to influence people and take them out of their matrix easier and better. And a never-ending learning process that is. But I'm getting better at it.
That's a challenge.
I'm getting better. I'm very proud. I've got my family to have made huge amounts of changes over the years. Not the change that I want, but they're the hardest ones to get to change, and I've successfully done that, so it's good. And going down that path, and all this, by the time I knew that's when I knew that something wasn't right about the cancer thing. I thought, you give someone chemo and they melt in their footprint. How the hell is that called medicine? And no one would listen. And then after the second uncle died, who really wanted to live, that was the day I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this shit out so it never happens again.
Wow.
And I started studying cancer. And of course, that led me to being featured in a cancer documentary as an expert and all that stuff
Really?
like that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. It hasn't been released yet, but I've done the filming.
okay.
I've done the filming and all that stuff. Yeah. So I got studying it for many years, and if still no one was hearing the message necessarily. But then I did an event, and I had naturopaths and homeopaths and chiropractors and Chinese medicine doctors and energy medicine doctors and Dr. Ben Johnson from The Secret, and
Awesome.
who runs an alternative cancer clinic and alternative research cancer center. And I had all these people who wrote books. I had people who healed cancer naturally and all that stuff. And I tried to get as many people as I could in the room, and that was a journey and then some. And then my parents came, and the irony is all the things I've been trying to tell them and trying to get through them for so long. It was great because now they heard the message from all of these other experts get repeated. Yeah. In fact, Dr. Ben Johnson was a fan of many of the same herbs that I was a fan of.
Wow.
And my parents, well, if you really got cancer, I'd be so scared. Like, part of me wants to go to the hospital. I'm like, well, they want you to be scared. This is an 8 levels of consciousness thing, by the way. Here's the enemy programs you, and they know all of your hot buttons. All the manipulation institutions know your hot buttons because they gave them to you.
Right.
So they gave them to you because they know if they can get you down to the emotional maturity of a child, and they can keep you there, they can control you for life. You can't control someone whose mind is finally free, but you can control someone there. So they know all your fear buttons. All they got to do is push that button and drop you down levels. You drop down a level, you drop down multiple levels when you go into a fear-based state. And like I said, a lot of people don't change. They set up a matrix to keep you in that loop tied in. Mm-hmm. So they drop you down to fear. So I'm explaining to my parents, you don't need to drop down to fear. If I had legitimately had cancer, after all the research that I've done, I would happily do this, and I wouldn't worry for 1 second. I would have no hesitation or reservation, like none. I totally centered and strong that this would work. And then a lot of things that I said that I would do, they came and heard it from all the experts. And that was the day the light bulb went off. They're like, shit, he's done sufficient research that he's not crazy. He's not crazy. In fact, he's been right this whole time. And that was the day that I got more leverage and I got some validation. And a lot of things changed.
You got more traction right there.
It was a tipping point for me in many ways of my life too. A lot of things. So that was a great experience, and I was telling it for a reason, and I forget why. You asked me how I got on the journey. Yeah, and then so the thing is, once your mind's open, that the matrix presented to you is bullshit.
You can never go back.
You can't go back. And then I was on the path, so I said, you know what? I want to know the truth. I just kept digging down the rabbit hole further and further and further because I saw the scam with the banks. I saw Tony do the scam with the food guy. Now the mind was really open. I thought,
so now banks, money, food.
Because as soon as I heard Tony teach me that, and I said, wait a second. If they're willing to tell a lie that big, and everyone's in on the lies that big, what fool would think they're not capable of other big lies?
Yeah. What else is out there?
What else are they lying about?
Because the food guide's in all your textbooks. It's in the school. It permeates the nurses. The doctors believe this shit. You go to the hospital. Your coaches, your trainers, like everyone believes these stupid lies.
And that's when it kind of gets scary because you're like, holy crap, I am in the Matrix.
I am in the Matrix.
Because everyone is speaking that language and everyone's already programmed.
Everyone's already
and you're
programmed.
the only one who's awake. You're like, what the hell's going on?
You imagine me
here?
going to a house party trying to bite my tongue? It's an interesting exercise, because you just try and focus on common ground. You try not to let anyone push your buttons because eventually I can only hear someone repeat lies so many times because the lies persist in our society because of repeaters. You tell a lie, and then you go and repeat it, and then Oliver repeats it, and then I'm repeating it. And as everyone repeats it, it's this constant reinforcement. It's a term in psychology. Psychological influence is called the law of social validation. So everything's getting socially validated. It's the lie keeps repeating.
So you start to be socially accepted.
You're socially conditioned that everyone's saying it, so it must be true. Mm-hmm. And part of me feels like, well, I have a moral obligation now. If I know the truth and I know otherwise, I have a moral obligation to put a stop to that. How do I do this? The first thing starts with trying to shake someone from their paradigm. You can't allow everyone to keep repeating the lies. you've got to choose your battles. It's hard. You don't want to be going around and being disruptive and being competitive and also
to everybody.
And when you're in your anger phase, you're a little more in that space.
Yeah.
And eventually I decided, that that's not productive being angry. I'm going to focus on things that I can control and inspire those who I can.
Anger is poisonous.
It's poisonous. Yeah. But the thing is you can't let people repeat the lies. So if someone starts repeating a lie, there's only so long that I can bite the tongue before I have to try and gently get them questioning the reality in some way. Maybe it's a metaphor where it's all like, well, have you considered if it's not? Well, are you sure about that? Have you done the research? Like, why are we just blindly trusting everything? Trust a doctor. Go see your doctor. Ask your doctor.
So now you have you guide them sort of with questions and.
I try and open it up. I'm always trying to get better at it. But every person's
Inception.
Different. Yeah, every person's different. But yeah, you wanna plant a new seed. If you can get them calling something into question, and the best way is using a metaphor. Or a third-party negotiation thing, because now they're not defensive. It's not about them.
Yeah.
Of course it is. If I'm telling a story, I tell the story about me going back to my childhood and all these things like that. There's no way you don't think about going back to your childhood.
Exactly.
Right. It's impossible that you don't.
Your story is my story.
Right, so I get them walking through that. Especially if someone's driven by significance, the whole world is only a mirror reflection to them. They don't see or feel or connect with anybody. Their reality is paramount. They're never actually connecting with you. It seems like you're having a conversation with them, but you're not really. You're really not. You're really not, because the whole world's about them. Everything is a mere reflection to them. It's like you listen to them speak about their intimate relationships, and they say, well, he takes me out, she does nice things for me. Everything's in reference to I. The whole story.
Yeah.
It's never, we share these wonderful things in common. We like to do this together. It's, they do this for me. That person does that for I. It's always in relation to it. You just got to listen to it. Like, I know this one. Eventually you see enough patterns and you start to discern everything as a pattern. You're just like, oh, shit, I know this pattern. Damn it. So the thing is, if you can shake their belief a little bit with a metaphor, a story, getting a question, calling it to answer. Maybe I'll give him one factoid and say, well, have you ever heard that, and why not? One of the things I'm creating right now, it's another one of my projects. I try and build my businesses around my passions and not vice versa. Instead of trying to get passionate with someone else's business or doing things that I don't like doing just for trading my time for money. I don't want to do that. So I have this information product that I want to do around cancer, and it's a DVD where I want to create a series of questions to which the answer is so black and white. There's no denying and no escaping the reality that if a family
You've already started this, or is this something that's
I've been writing down my questions and preparing them and trying to figure out which ones are best. So if a family has cancer, what I want them to do, and maybe it's a gift that you give to someone that you care about, and you give them this DVD, and a family can watch it together. What I know is when I coach people, and I'm doing one-on-one coaching cancer-wise, I'm still battling with the family in the background. You're not trust the doctor. What do you mean? You can't do. And when someone's already in a fear-based state, their level of consciousness already dropped. That influence is so easy for someone to get in, to take in. Everyone's chirping makes a difference. So I recognize that I almost need to coach the family, and that could be really tricky. So if I have a DVD that can
leverage it,
yeah. So someone gives the DVD, and it's a series of questions that you go and ask your doctor. So everyone holds the doctor on the pedestal, and they think every other doctor.
What are some of the questions?
They think every other doctor's like a phony. They think naturopathic doctors aren't real doctors for some reason. It's a really stupid belief. I don't know where that came from, but if you can take the questions to your doctor and have a series of questions that he can't answer, you let him take his own credibility away from you. So you're holding him on this pedestal. He's a specialist.
Wow.
I go to Toronto downtown. He's the top guy.
There's no high priesthood.
All the nurses are talking about the high priesthood guy. This hypnosis that credentials mean shit. I mean, credentials don't mean anything. Either someone's learned it or they're not. Period. And you can learn anything on Google. You know more about your naturopathic doctor easily if you study not long enough on the internet. That's just the way it is. You study enough distinctions about any kind of illness you have, you know more than your doctor. It doesn't take long to do that. But you especially an MD. So I have a series of questions. So here's one of the greatest questions. It just crumbles the whole thing. It just ends it. If I now, so there's a Nobel Prize won, okay? In the 1920s, Dr. Otto Warburg wrote a paper called The Root Cause of Cancer. That's the name of the paper, okay? And they tested the hypothesis for 8 years, and then they gave him the Nobel Prize for it. So you would think that an oncologist does nothing else but cancer. Nothing else but cancer. That's all they do. It's so hard to come up with another metaphor. Imagine another profession that never heard about the Nobel Prize in the profession that you do. A guy won a Nobel Prize for real estate, and you're in the real estate business, and you never heard about it.
Right.
And you told me that, I would never trust you as my real estate agent ever again. What the hell? You didn't even get the basics. How did you miss the most foundational? And the truth is, if you ask any oncologist, even if he's been doing it for 30 years, he's never heard of Otto Warburg.
Wow.
He's Otto
Warburg.
He's never heard of it. And here's how I know he's never heard of it. If he heard of it and he read that paper, he would never give chemo in a bazillion years. Because as soon as you understand the process, the mechanism of how cancer works, you realize chemo can never work. It has to have a less than 0% success rate. It's not even a remote possibility that it has success rate. So if you can take 5 questions, let's say I'm trying to create a series of 20 is kind of where I have it. Yeah. And a family watches those questions, and all I simply say is, listen, I'm going to ask you to trust me, and I'm not asking you to trust anybody. You don't need to come to me. Go see any naturopath. Go see someone who studies natural medicine. You can't heal a poison. But take these set of questions to your doctor of any kind, no matter the illness, and ask him a series of foundational questions that he really should have the answer to. Really, really should have the answer to.
Right.
And when he can't answer them, do the rational, objective thing, come out of the fear-based place and say, I can't trust this guy. I've got to walk out. He just gave away. He taught me that he has no credibility.
Wow.
Because the story is trust your doctor.
The legs of the table are
legs of the table, gone. It's like yanking the carpet out from under that guy.
Yeah.
Because, it's amazing. People think the credentials are everything. I was on a blog one time arguing with a guy who's got a PhD in immunity. And I handed him his ass. I mean, he had no idea what he was talking about. How do you I don't know how they graduate not knowing anything about immune systems, but they don't. Dude, you ask anyone. Carolyn Dean's a great example. Went to naturopathic school, went to medical school.
Both.
Perfect perspective. And she went to naturopathic school. She didn't realize she couldn't help anyone after med school. And so listen, I studied diseases for 2 years, and I studied 2 years of matching drugs to those diseases, and then you graduate. That's it. Harvard University did a study recently, and they proved their secretaries knew more about nutrition than the doctors. Literally.
What?
This is published, and there's many medical journals published. The Journal of the American Medical Association has published studies showing that MDs graduate knowing nothing about health. People say, "Oh, Terry, it's a conspiracy." No, your doctor really doesn't know. It's admitted in the Journal of the American Medical Association admits they know nothing about nutrition or health. So it's like, if I'm building a rocket ship and I'm looking for advice,
it's all about the drugs.
Do I go to my butcher?
It is.
Would you? If I'm building a rocket ship and I'm looking for advice, do I go to my butcher? No. Well, if you're looking to fix your health, you don't go ask the drug dealer. What's the difference between the guy in the white coat?
Dealer, yeah.
What's the difference between the guy in the white coat and the drug dealer in the street? In fact, if we made a list, you'd see that the guy in the street is more ethical in many ways. In fact, they're drug dealers. They have to. Most people don't realize that they're legally not allowed to tell you about something else. If they knew about something else for cancer, they couldn't tell you. They're not allowed to tell you. 91% of oncologists.
So their hands are tied when it comes to
91% of oncologists said they would refuse chemo, but give it to the patients anyway.
Like they themselves.
Yeah, they would never take it. Yeah, they would never take it. And they're morons. They still know almost nothing about cancer, and they still know almost nothing about cancer. Believe it or not. If I had a conversation with an oncologist, I could prove to him very quickly he knows nothing about cancer. You don't even know the basics, pal. You nothing. You got no legs on that table.
Okay, wait, so let's switch gears here. What's the bright side to all of this?
There's a bright side to this.
What's the bright side?
Well, you're empowered. For starters, you're not going to lose your life.
People that are listening, they might be like, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, their life might be crumbling underneath them. Like, everything that they know.
The truth sets you free.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, but we want to
hit rock bottom.
Listen. All it is in life. By the way, if you want to go and figure out, if you want to learn something, could you learn something from someone who's homeless? And everyone says, yeah. Well, your failure leaves clues.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get here? What did you do? What decisions did you make? How did this whole thing happen to you? And you would learn something. So the same idea is the lesson of what not to do is equally good as the lesson of what to do. And all I'm simply suggesting is you go find a coach of some kind who understands, who's at least read the root cause of cancer. Oh shit, that would be a good start. And then you figure out what were your foundational causes. Why did you get cancer? So there's a lot of different individual things, but it requires an individualized approach. It's like let's suppose my cancer is caused by a zinc deficiency. Let's just say that an extreme zinc deficiency. So there's a lot of things that can't happen physiologically in the body because of that. Well, there's no zinc in chemo, so you can't fix the problem. It's like it's like there's lots of great metaphors I can come up with. I'm at a loss right now, but the thing is, you have to deal with the root cause of why you got it. It's the only way you're ever going to get healthy.
That's how you find out.
You can find out the root
solution.
Cause. And a coach will. I ask you enough questions about your lifestyle and your life. I'm going to know everything about you. We can skip the fancy tests and all that crap. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I already know what's going on. Figured it out. I got it. 99% of women with breast cancer have high levels of parabens in their breast tissue. Well, I know where the parabens are found, so I know how she got it. It's not the only reason. Well, they're in a lot of your personal care products, almost every personal care product. Right?
Meaning like shampoo and
Yeah,
makeup,
shampoos,
and
deodorants, makeups, yeah, cosmetics, all that stuff. So, that's one of the root causes of cancer. So we take a look at that. You could take a look at the dental problem as a high correlation. You go and take a look at, there's lots of things that are correlative facts. And I ask them enough questions, and I've already figured it out. But your doctor doesn't ask you any of those questions. It's like, hey doc, I broke my knee. Well, okay, let me see if I whack you in the shoulder with a sledgehammer, if that'll fix it. Well, it's not going to fix it. You didn't do. My ankle is what's hurting. What the fuck are you hitting me in the shoulder for, you idiot? That's what chemo is.
So you start thinking about your life.
You didn't get cancer because you have a deficiency of mustard gas.
Oh my god!
If people really got that in their head, you didn't get microwaving water. If I microwave this water and I pour it on any living plant, it'll die. Well, radiation is a microwave. Listen, if I microwave water and it'll kill plants, that means it'll kill living things if I drink it. What do you think it's going to do? I'm going to get rid of my cancer because of what? I have a deficiency of being microwaved? Put me in the microwave and then my cancer will get better? It's just insanity. It's just really stupid.
Wow.
So anyway, you dig down the rabbit hole, and I've been on the path for a long time, and you start studying in various subjects, and then it's just the path for truth. Just trying to understand. I think you're empowered when you know the truth. And step one is knowing what not to do, knowing which lies are out there. This idea of going to get a job like that's a good strategy, it's just really
Where do you think people should start? Because we always talk about people should start looking inwards first, the knowledge of the self-knowledge. Mm-hmm. Like your personal problems, like we were talking about earlier, before you're 7 years old. What the hell happened to make you addicted to food or addicted to this way of being or way of thinking?
You want to know where the real self-love mind virus comes from, where the suffering-based mind virus comes from? There's lots of institutions that have lists of rules about the who's who. There's a who's who list of natural human behavior. It's a totally who's who's list of natural human behavior. And if I go and tell you that you're a bad person if you do any of these things, you're going to do them because of the natural list of who's who of what it's like to be a human. And you start doing those things, especially as a child where you have no discernment, you're going to start to think that you're a bad person. And that's when the idea starts.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad. People say that all the time,
this is where,
I notice that.
This is where the idea starts. And that's where self-love starts to get eroded. Can you, there's so many, how do we do this without being controversial? So, yeah, you go to certain institutions, and they're, the idol up front, is it's from a human sacrifice cult, and they've got this who's who's list of things that you shouldn't do, and then you're a sinner if you do them. Now, as soon as you believe you're a sinner, sinner means you're not just kind of bad.
You're really bad. You're evil.
The subconscious mind of a child plants the seed, and like Jason Christoph says it very well, and I've got a great interview on YouTube for anyone who's seen it. It's not on YouTube. Go and Google Terry Tillaart, Jason Christoph together, and you'll find it. Fantastic call. And, Jason says, listen, the subconscious mind is like a photocopier enlarger machine. That's its function. It's a photocopier enlarger machine. So you plant a small idea in the head, and it's going to expand on that. It's going to expand on that, and it's going to keep photocopying and expanding and enlarging. Now, you tell the subconscious mind that you sinners are so bad that someone's son had to die for you. What did you think a subconscious hears about that? You're so bad that someone's son had to come and die for you, by the way, because you're so terrible of a human being. Mm-hmm. Now, that sounds innocent, because, especially if you're out of the matrix, the conscious mind's saying, well, I don't even believe in that shit. But the subconscious got that in there.
It's already been in there.
It's already been in there. That program's in there, Well, look at the anxiety. Look at the anxiety. There was a great book. Wilhelm Reich is one of the greatest psychologists, I think, in my opinion, of history. He talked all about this sexual repression causing lots of different diseases and illnesses, right? That was the root cause of it. Why do a lot of women have difficulty achieving orgasm? They say, well, I'm enjoying it, and this and that. And sure, they may be deficient in B vitamins, and there might be some hormonal imbalances, and there might be all these different things. But
what is it?
They're naturally supposed to be able to. There's this subconscious, imagine you really believe you're told that if you have premarital sex that you're a really bad human being. By the way, every human's wired for sex. It's really stupid. So you believe the Creator is perfect. But how did he screw up your penis? Why does your penis want sex, even though you're not supposed to want it? Then there's no good answer to that. But now, let's say a woman or a man has premarital sex. In the back of their mind, all of a sudden, now they're a really terrible person. Yeah. They're a sinner. And who's not going to be
out of wedlock?
Out of wedlock. All these ideas. We have all this negative language patterning of cheating and all this stuff like that. And the thing is these same institutions, and they're all the same. I'm not denominating one. They all sell conditional love. I love you, but if you do this, you're going to hell. It's conditional love. That's why as adults we're always exchanging conditional love with
jail,
people. Yeah.
Or you're
It's all conditional love, and that's why as adults, this is what we see. We see this happening all the time. People interact with other humans. It's all conditional love, Well, hey, if you're enjoying something with somebody else, even if it's a lunch and you're flirting a little bit, well, my job, I'm supposed to put an axe in your back now, There's all these insane ideas. But they're insane ideas that are based on conditional love. But now you put that in someone's mind. Someone who's spent enough time around that institution and those kinds of teachings had immersion, spaced repetition, and peer group. It's all it takes to master anything negative or positive.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And they're in it. That's exactly how the format's set up. Now you put the
first 12 years of.
So you put the Jesuits said, give me the child for 7 years and I'll show you the man. That was a saying before the documentary the study of 7 Up started. They knew that if they could just put the right ideas in your mind, they know all your fear buttons, and I can take you right down to push your fear buttons. Take your consciousness down all the time, no problem.
You're in the far.
Wow.
Yeah. So you now self-love is gone. Now the mind's open to anything. By the way, don't they sell suffering? Don't those institutions all sell suffering as a benefit? The leader of the institution, this is how we get salvation for all the planet Earth because of the suffering. Suffering has a benefit. The subconscious of a child's not going to see anything other than suffering has a benefit. Yeah. I'm going to grow up being a body abuser.
The only way you're going to be good is if you suffer, is if you...
Sure. And as soon as you start violating those rules, even just desiring sex, if you spent enough time mastering those principles, you spend enough time in that immersion environment,
you feel guilty.
You can feel guilty because you just by desiring
guilty
sex.
Conscience, yeah.
Yeah, so you can stop all this guilty conscience stuff. Like, what the hell's wrong with me? Am I some crazy sex maniac?
So it's like
You mean you're human?
It's almost self-slavery. Yeah. It's voluntary slavery.
It's voluntary slavery, but it's perfect. Because if I can put that, if I can,
you don't have to use weapons. You don't have to tie them down.
You don't have to. It's slavery.
It's easier.
So if the government can teach you all the wrong things, and these institutions partner with the government and the banks, they can teach you all the wrong things that you want at a young age in the subconscious. They control you into slavery. They can sell you out of your own best life. They don't need to force it upon you. You'll go and do it, no problem anyway. You don't love yourself.
You're wired for it.
You're wired for it. You believe suffering has a benefit. Since 99% of your life's being driven by the subconscious, and you've been taught that suffering has a benefit, and there's no way you can't come to that conclusion by being around that institution, that suffering has a benefit. Think about that, like Jason Christoff says. Now you're told that Mary conceives without even having sex. What the subconscious makes the connection that something's wrong with sex, that sex is somehow bad. There's an immaculate conception concept. You tell a child that, it's thinking, wow, she's so special. They put this character on praise because, well, hey, she didn't even have to have sex to conceive. So that's implying that sex is bad. Why didn't she get the enjoyment of sex? So your subconscious gets that, and now when you desire sex as an adult, what do you think happens? What do you think happens for the average person who hasn't elevated their consciousness and started really questioning all of their beliefs? Now, I went through a process years ago in my life, it's something I recommend to everybody. It's like I just started examining all of my beliefs, all of them. Where did they come from? Where the hell did I get that? Are they still true? Is it still true? And does it serve me? And if it doesn't, out. You got to start taking control of your life somewhere. You got weeds in your garden. You got to pull them out. I'm rambling. Self-love can be robbed from anybody pretty easily, but all it takes is a simple little idea. But you take any idea, even if it's not from those institutions, you take any idea about somebody doing something bad or wrong, that they're a bad person, all these things, and that seed germinates in the mind over time. It's a photocopier on larger machine. And 99% of your life's driven by your subconscious. And so long as you were programmed before you were 7, we know the outcome of your life, and it's been well documented and proven that that's how things end up.
So what I'm really hearing is that revolution happens at self-love. Like if we're going to have massive change, if we're going to hit that critical mass, it's going to start with the self-love.
Yeah, starts with love. It starts with awareness. When you really love yourself, there's just so many things you're just not going to put up with. Apathy comes from
a lack of self-love.
Lack of self-love. Because if you're getting what you think you deserve. As soon as you didn't think it was fair and that you deserved more, you'd be stepping up and doing something about it. Why? As I can show someone, hey, listen, you can build a business, you can build a residual income, you can retire for life and live on the beach for life and have huge annual income. What's a normal annual income for you are not going to become a monthly income. If you do the right things, there's many people that succeeded before you. There's, you just got to go and study them. Success leaves clues. Anybody can do it. So long as you can learn, you can do it. Every human has a capacity to learn. Therefore, every human can do it. And you can go and set up and live your best life and all those great things. And I can show you and I'll coach you and lead you to all the right resources and all these right things. Why didn't someone do it? They don't believe they're worthy of their best life.
They don't think they deserve it.
I don't think they deserve it.
We only give ourselves what we feel we deserve.
Why do lottery winners lose all the money right away? I don't feel like they're deserving of it. That's why you got it. That's hard work to get rid of $10 million when you're broke. Yeah. You've never had money your whole life.
It is.
And people say, well, no one teaches us budgeting skills, and they just don't have financial management skills. Okay, they're not used to. Hey, it's not rocket science. Holy shit! It's adding and subtracting. Okay, and it's real simple. I got this really big number, and I want it to last a little while. The truth is, I think it's something like 95 or 98% of lotto winners, and I know why the number's so high.
It's gone.
Empowered people who take personal responsibility for life ain't depending on the lottery and calling that a financial strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't play the lottery. I'm just throwing away my money. That's just stupid in my books.
It's an extra tax.
It's an extra tax. and who runs it? The government runs the Lotto and Gaming Corporation.
It's like, have you seen The Island?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen The Island?
No.
Remember the lottery part?
Yeah.
Essentially, it's Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. They're on the movie's called The Island, and they're essentially in this little bubble that they're living in. And the lie is that the entire world is destroyed and it's uninhabitable, and we have to be in this little bubble, and we have to procreate, and we have to continue the human race and all this stuff. And they have this lottery, and the lottery is everyone gets a chance to go to the island, and the island is like a paradise, the last paradise of the planet. And the whole thing is everyone has this hope of winning the lottery, and that's the only reason why they stay alive. And the whole premise of it is the fact that because sorry for the spoilers, but they're all actually clones. Like, they're all clones of people who are in the real world. And in order for these clones to survive, because the reason why the clones are needed is because, let's say you need a liver transplant. So I need someone to clone an entire me, and I'm going to take that liver when I need it. And so what happens is, in order to have these functioning organs and cells, they need to have that hope to win the lottery. Otherwise, the organs aren't going to work. They're going to fail. But yeah, it's like the freaking lottery, man. People have that false hope of, oh yeah, this great life someday, and one day when I win the lottery,
Yeah, to me that's again like the way the lottery winners lose it. It's a direct reflection of what they thought they deserved. That's why they squandered the money. And the people who play the lottery are the people who already are not personally empowered and taking personal responsibility for their life and controlling their finances. I have hope too. I have lots of optimism about the future. But I have every right to have optimism about the future. I have a plan that's just unfolding one piece at a time, and I see the map. So it's a map. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly where my life's going to be. I'm optimistic.
But it's not some ticket dependent on chance.
I'm not wishing. I simply need to follow the process. I need to follow the steps. I need to model those who've gone before the path, whatever path I'm on. Model those steps. Get to that path. And your future's optimistic and bright. But it's easy. It's predictable. It's there. And why not choose something that's predictable? I don't believe they're worth it. You can get someone to teach them all these simple. You can do it really simply. It'll take time, but it's really the things you need to do are really simple. Why don't they? Don't believe they're worth it.
Simple steps.
Don't believe they're worth it. There's a book called "If Information Is All It Took, Everyone Would Be Skinny, Rich, and Happy" or something like that.
It's true. It's true.
Is it really complicated for people when they seriously struggle with weight? And I mean this respectfully, but it's not that complicated to figure out that. If I eat this banana, I'm probably not getting fat. The salad's probably not going to. No one in the history of the planet's ever gotten fat eating fruits and vegetables. It's never happened. Never once. It's never happened, and it never will happen. Not to one human, not to any human. There's no exceptions to that rule. So how did it happen? It's like everyone knows that fruits and vegetables are good. If I serve it anyone on the street, they'd tell me that. Now all this nonsense that fruit's bad. Oh my God. Some really smart people starting to think fruit is bad. There's really something going on in our world here. That's fruit being bad. It's the perfect food for humans. If I eat a peach, by the time I'm done the first half of the peach, it's already in my bloodstream before I eat the second half. If my body can process it that efficiently, you think it's bad for me? No, it belongs in there, believe me. Vegetables take 6 to 14 hours. Fruits, less than 20 minutes, It's not fast food, it's instantaneous food.
Yeah.
And yet, really smart people, doctors, people in the natural health world, all of a sudden afraid of fruit.
Are you a vegan? Are you a vegetarian? Or do you eat
I live a primarily vegan lifestyle.
Yeah.
But
do you eat animal products here and there?
I'm what they would call a flexitarian.
Yeah, that's like us.
In the sense
as
that
often as
I'm under no delusion that I'm not a carnivore, and I'm under no delusion that I'm not an omnivore. And I choose to eat very clearly the foods that I like to eat that I think are health giving, providing.
So more of like a whole food.
And designed for my gastrointestinal tract. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I'm at a restaurant or at someone's house from time to time, I see the moral and ethical side very much, and I totally resonate with it, but it's not my driving force.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I'm a part of the problem if I have an egg at a breakfast restaurant once a month.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get bent out of shape. I have a little bit of goat cheese from time to time.
So
That's
it's not
gonna ruin my
about
life.
guilt or morals. It's about like what's good for your body.
Well, there's nothing healthy about guilt, you know? It's like, yeah, a lot of people like to create guilty situations, you know, because they feel like
those guys who throw red paint at fur coats and things like that.
yeah, you know. So, my primary diet's the food I'm designed for, but I'm at a buffet. I love Indian food, for example. I'm at an Indian buffet and I'm really craving a sauce that has some meat in it. Well, I'm not getting the sauce. I'm not getting a dish for the meat. I'm having a little because I'm really craving the sauce.
Yeah.
And 3 bites once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect my health because my rituals of health are
So
all
it's
about
like
self-love.
really 80% of it is you're being really good to your body, and
Way
More
higher
than
than
80%,
that. Way
yeah.
higher than that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's way beyond 90%.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You know, I live a very clean, healthy lifestyle, but I'm also open to the fact of having. I really enjoy craft beer and wine. I also think life's meant to be enjoyed. I'm here for that. So I don't have guilt about that. I understand what alcohol does to the body and the inside. The next morning I wake up and I counteract all those things.
yeah. What do you take?
Yeah, so, there's lots of herbs and essential oils and minerals in foods. Even a lemon, as simple as that is very good for cleaning out the liver. I know that alcohol's going to be a bit hard on the kidneys, so I'll support the kidneys.
Yeah.
So you just take some of the things that are going
So
to be
it's
good the
from
next
the-
day.
yeah, well, it
I know
sounds
that
like it's very-
alcohol's acidic. The next day I'm going to alkalize.
Alkalize, yeah.
And I'm going to do that and
A lot of
counteract it.
education before.
I do that the next day and wipe the slate clean of the guilt because you got to enjoy some things for life. That's what we are here for, first and foremost. Is to be happy and enjoy the experience. So
Well, now I gotta ask because it's intoxicating. You smell fucking amazing. And it's okay. And I have oils at home, and you've been here for like 2 hours, and I could still, I can still smell it. So
Yeah.
tell us about this.
I get immune to them because I smell them all the time. I think sometimes, at least on myself,
Right?
Yeah.
But
as soon as I
smells
walked
good,
in,
man.
I'm a big believer in therapeutic grade essential oils, and I got into them such a weird way. I was studying naturopathic medicine, like I was telling you, and cancer, and studying herbs, and studying rainforests, and studying all this stuff. And I met this woman who's into energy medicine. She got more credentials than anyone I've ever met, and I was just dying to pick her brain because that's what I was doing. I was trying to befriend people from different health disciplines to pick their brains,
just,
to
like,
learn their distinctions.
trying
to learn their distinctions because they all just do this: go to school, go to the chiropractor thing, whatever they taught in chiropractor college. Well, that's what I know.
Yeah.
I just think that's really stupid. Everyone's got a
You
distinction.
want to have
Why are naturopaths not doing
a
more
broader
than that?
range
Yeah.
of knowledge.
So I just thought, so what's the hot button? What's the this concept of lessons from miracle doctors? Trying to find the distinction. Like if I was an athlete like Tiger Woods, I'm going to go find different coaches who are specialized in this one little 2 millimeter distinction. I want that. If you're in a mastery, you start pursuing those things. If that's an identity metaphor for you, which it is for me. So I start looking. I'm studying all these rainforests. I meet up with her, and I'm like, so tell me they're goods. Tell me they're good. What do you do? And she's like, I use essential oils. And I'm like, what?
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm the smelly stuff. Yeah, I'm sure it smells wonderful and all, but well, let's talk about the real medicine. Shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, there's the real medicine. I thought, boy, there's something I've never heard of this before. I got to learn
that's
about this.
very different.
The concept,
That's very different.
I thought, I'm sure they're relaxing. I'm sure they're nice. My sense of smell is actually sensitive. I enjoy pleasant scents, but the concept that'd be medicine other than maybe a little relaxation in the tub or something, whatever. Was foreign to me. And being a masculine man, I'm thinking, even if I would enjoy those things, I just don't foresee myself making it a priority going out and buying lavender and putting it in the tub. I mean, if it's that healthy, maybe I'll do that. Okay, but let's talk about the medicine. And then eventually you start studying to realize that most essential oils are really just concentrated herbs, and they're 50 to 80 times stronger, not percentage, times stronger than a dry herb. And they have a lot of versatility. So if you have a kid, you can apply it topically. And because essential oils are identical to human cells, but just about, they can penetrate and permeate any cell really easily, like pharmaceutical
Right on your skin.
pharmaceutical companies are now using it now for transdermal drug delivery patches because they know it increases the absorption by several thousand-fold.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, because
Wow.
it can transport. The oils will just get into any cell so easily.
So quickly.
So easily. It's like there's no barrier to entry in any of the cells for the essential oils.
Amazing.
And so, again, if you understand that you're connected to nature and you understand that nature is the only thing that can heal because you are nature, we're all part of the quantum web like I talked about and all this stuff. And you start studying energy
Most
medicine.
people think they're separate.
And the frequency of the plants, and you start studying all these different things. So, every oil's got something great. I really enjoy them. They're the most versatile
So what are we
medicine,
smelling
but
right
it's
now?
first aid medicine.
What do we smell?
I don't know. I've got a variety of different blends on. You're probably smelling, I guess. I don't know.
Like,
My deodorant's also essential oil based. My dental stuff is essential oil based. It's really just about non-toxic living. More than anything else, I look at essential oils as first aid medicine, non-toxic living. So, like personal care products, you exchange those for... There's a lot of organic cheater brands out there. A lot of people are wasting their money on.
I know.
And
like, the ones that I have are just not as potent. I know they're not as potent.
Yeah, and then filling nutritional gaps. So if I speaking of potency, a lot of supplements out there are total garbage. Really a waste of money. Don't even bother. Don't even bother actually harming you more than they are doing.
I'm trying to take as little supplements as possible. I'm
a big proponent of supplements, but I need to be but I'm sophisticated about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't just willy nilly take whatever. I have that knowledge. I have the privilege of having that knowledge. But essential oils, if they dramatically increase the drug intake, they also dramatically increase. So if I'm taking a multivitamin, I want it with essential oils because it's going to dramatically increase the absorption. It's simple. So it's just about some people are taking a multivitamin whatever that they take. So
what's a good multivitamin? Because I've heard USANA is one that's really good.
USANA's quality. It's better than a lot of other ones out there. It's not.
I know Shell Sonnen uses it.
I'm not into bashing other companies. It's just USANA's above average, but there are, in my opinion, stronger ones out there. And
do you have one that you can just say? Is that okay?
Well, I like Young Living's True Source because it's essential oil infused. That's because essential oils will increase absorption. The thing is, if you have poor digestion,
so you infuse it through.
It's right in the supplement.
Oh,
yeah. So, but let's like if you were eating blueberries and you took an essential oil in your mouth at the same time, you'd increase the absorption of your blueberries. So hands down. Wow. So digestive problems are so common in our society. So like what you eat doesn't matter if you don't assimilate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And most people aren't assimilating anything. Mm-hmm. They eat garbage like no tomorrow. They've been abusing their body. Their digestive tracts are really weak, so they're assimilating nothing. So this idea that they need assimilation, where you take a supplement, and if your digestive problems are really bad, you're not absorbing anything.
That you're taking. Yeah.
So the support of having something that will increase the absorption. And often the essential oils that are chosen not only increase absorption, they're also digestive tonics. So they're going to balance out the digestive system and heal that at the same time. So anyway, that's just different kinds of natural.
Ever since you introduced me, I started doing like anytime I feel stuffy or I'm sick, I always do the steam inhalations.
Amazing for that.
All the time.
Amazing.
In my bag, like I always bring peppermint because when I first tried it at your booth, you're like, yo, it's like you're feeling stuffy here. Snort some of this. I'm like, snort it? Are you kidding me?
He opens it up.
And then you open it up, and it was like probably 4 hours it lasted.
Yeah,
the stuff that I got from Whole Foods, maybe like 20 minutes it lasts. It doesn't last a long time.
It's not the same. No. There really is a lot of quality distinctions out there.
But it just changes everything. You just from breathing. Like sometimes I go into the hot yoga room, and I take that right before, and it just helps. Everything. You can feel your breath and all that stuff.
Yeah, like I've got a frankincense resin burner, which, the ancients weren't wrong.
So it burns in the room.
Yeah, they had an intuition. Yeah, they had an intuition that we didn't have. Like I have a diffuser for diffusing essential oils.
You mean you don't use Glade?
I cringe for those things. But no.
Hell no.
Studies are showing women who work in the house or stay at home have dramatically higher rates of cancer. It's directly related to the personal care and things like Glade and Febreze and cleaning products that they're using. So I have a diffuser, and so that's purifying the air, and I have a frankincense resin burner. And let's say I'm doing yoga or I'm doing a workout, I turn on the frankincense resin burner. Well, studies have shown that frankincense is turning on a specific channel in the brain. So they're saying that's why it's been used for rituals from various cultures throughout the whole world.
What is it opening up?
I mean, in Roman times, there's different channels in the brain that are opening up. They're just studying this. There was a great study that came out in 2011 on it. But anyway, what they're finding is that this inhalation. People say, well, there's no way smelling stuff affects you. And I say, well, you ever heard carbon monoxide? Who denies that? Can you smell carbon monoxide? No, it gets high enough it'll kill you.
Yeah.
It's something to take you to death. By the way, smelling affects you. And, the ancient Roman times, they used to diffuse like hundreds of thousands of tons or some crazy, insane number all year long. They were constantly burning resin throughout the city, right? So it has an effect on the population. They also got rid of the plague using things like that. So, but it's nice to have in the household. So, essential oils are just a nice accompaniment.
Amazing.
I'm not saying they replace everything. They don't replace good eating and exercise and sleep and rest and all the foundational principles.
But if you're gonna have some supplements or something that's gonna be,
and I want first aid. So, like you said, you were talking about the stuffy nose. If you have a stuffy nose and stuff, I want things that are non over the counter pharmaceuticals are not safe just because they're over the counter. They're are anything but safe. In an honest world, they'd be totally pulled off the shelf. But I want something that's good. I very, very rarely get sick of any kind, and I can usually beat it like sometimes by noon.
Days, yeah.
By noon.
Oh, by noon.
Often by noon, yeah. But let's say sometimes it gets worse. I want to have something that's natural that I can go and in France, if you went to the doctor, they give you essential oils instead of antibiotics, and so it should be.
Yeah.
So I like to just have that first aid. I see essential oils as first aid medicine. The rest of it is nice. It smells nice instead of a toxic cologne or perfume. Use that. It improves dental care. So you just use the things. It makes sense.
Are almost all of your personal care products infused with oils?
100%. Yeah, 100%. My shampoos, my body washes, my...
Is that all under the same
dental
company?
care.
Is that the same?
It is, just because I think, if you were to grow your own garden, do you think you're going to get better quality food than you would at the grocery store?
Yeah.
If it's yours.
And there's only one company that actually grows all the plant material and distills it all their own.
Their own raw.
They're the
material
largest
and their
private
own
organic
retail.
farmer in the world. And so they grow on...
This is Young Living.
Yeah, they grow on multiple continents. So they do everything from seed to seal, and they specialize in, and that's all they do. And any other company, if you understand how the industry is done, it's third-party people buying from third-party people who buy a third-party broker buys the oil, sends it to another third-party distiller.
Oh,
Someone else buys it in big batches, and 5 companies buy it from the same batch, and everyone puts their sticker on it.
Right.
And it's never been tested. They have no idea what's in it. And an improper essential oil can actually be very toxic. So that's where anyway. I don't want to get.
So how do I get my hands on like a whole like does it make sense to have like a whole broad range of that?
I think it does. Yeah, well, I have a broad range because I study their benefits, so I understand why. But for most people, I just
say study it
most
first. Study it
people-
first.
No, you don't need just pretty. So there's a book called the Desk Reference. So you just reference the book, and it makes everything very simple for
So
you.
can you go by symptom?
Yeah,
or
go
is
by
it
symptom, go by disease, go by whatever.
Go by
and it'll tell you
oil.
what to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I've gotten a couple of those cards that
Yeah.
it'll tell you a bunch of oils and what they can be used for and how you would take it.
Yeah, and I think every household should just get a first aid kit at minimum. Like they have a kit that's basically like a first aid kit. So have a first aid kit. So when it's at home and you need something, you have the sniffles, you have the
there's a couple of
cough, you have
different
the
oils in
whatever.
there.
You've got the necessary oils.
You got it at home. You don't have to go to the grocery store or the pharmacy or the whatever. It's non-toxic and it's just simple to deal with stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just believe in non-toxic living as a lifestyle, and I refuse to support companies that are lying, like an organic cheater brand. Like, you vote with your dollars. If we stop, like I said, with the parking, the sticker for the license plate thing, we all stop supporting that. It all ends.
Yeah.
And everyone stops supporting companies that are lying and pretending they're organic and doing all these things. As soon as we stop supporting them, it goes away. I do buy supplements from a few other companies. I wouldn't buy essential oils from other companies, but but non-toxic living, your personal care products, I'm just not going to support them. I'm going to vote with my dollars. And why would you poison yourself on one side when you're working out hard and trying to eat well and do all these great things, and then you walk into your bathroom and poison yourself?
Yeah.
It's no sense to me.
It doesn't compute.
Doesn't compute. No. So
What do you think about Ayurveda?
Yeah, all systems of medicine have lots to teach, and I think it's also melding the distinctions. I study some Chinese medicine, I study some of the rainforest concepts, and there's no doubt that energy medicine's real. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Right.
I have friends who own lots of energy medicine technology. People think, the hospitals, all this great technology. It's the Stone Age technology of what's out there. It's Stone Age. I've seen live blood, biofeedback. I've seen quantum. You can go and get your aura picture taken. It's in multiple levels, and you can do something to the body, take the picture again, and see that something's changed. Right? I've seen lots of energy medicine work, and I've watched the before and afters. So once you start seeing those things, you realize, well, of course energy medicine's real. And you start studying quantum physics, of course energy medicine's real. And that's what comes to frequencies. Like your food, your normal food, and your normal
They all have
herbs.
frequencies.
They range in frequency to I think it's around to 10 to 25 hertz. Essential oils range from 52 to 320. They're just the highest frequency substances. And as soon as you realize that your body's bioenergetic, then you realize that frequencies are going to be very good for you. So a high frequency substance just makes sense. So it's one of the reasons that I use it. But so I like all systems of medicine. They all have something to teach. And
Do oils have a frequency?
huge. Highest frequency substances on the planet by far. Yeah, so that's just good. The thing is, that's something else we've proven. Disease states can only happen within a certain frequency range of the body. For you to have cancer, you have to be at a low
lower
level
frequency.
Frequency is a provable fact. Totally well-documented fact that you only get cancer when you're at that low frequency. Now, you get your frequency up by feeding yourself live foods, raw foods. These things are all of life-giving frequency to you. But now if you take a higher frequency substance, then you're just going to increase your frequency faster.
More. Yeah.
Faster. So,
And does other people's frequency impact your frequency?
Oh, huge proximity. You study the HeartMath Institute, and fascinating science they're up to, and you realize that your heart field extends beyond
The universe.
true quantum purists. Yeah, true quantum purists would say, well, there's no time and space. That's completely a fabrication. Very true, provable by quantum physics. Odd concept. As anyone says, if you truly get quantum physics, it has to screw with your head. And if it doesn't screw with your head, you don't really get it.
Well, yeah. It's like, how the hell do you get it?
But your proximity, your high amplitude of your energy field, it has an 8-foot radius. So as soon as someone's in your 8-foot radius, that's why I say a lot of communication is nonverbal. So it's like if you're in business with someone and you're trying to make an exchange with them, if you're at the place to take rather than simply a fair exchange, or you're there to serve, there's something to use the same words. That's why one person succeeds. I say, well, I used the exact words you told me.
Yeah.
But it's not working for me.
When someone gives
well,
you
I know
the will,
why. You were there to take. You totally went in that place to take rather than having a nice, fair exchange with them, or there from the place of service. Like, I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to make you feel better. I genuinely believe that this is going to serve your life. And so, so that heart field, that nonverbal communication, is not just by your thing that's your subconscious mind picking up on body gestures and body language. It's not just that. It's your heart field. Someone's within 8 feet of you, especially, you're in so much proximity that your heart field is totally going to affect them. There's no way they can't. That's why you don't want to spend time around negative people.
Yeah.
You spend time around people really screwed up. I mean, eventually their proximity has got to wear down on you. Studies have shown that, one of the things that's really healthy for people with cancer is to snuggle in bed with someone with a higher frequency, because it does raise the frequency. It will raise their frequency.
Amazing.
They're pulling you down too, by the way.
What about
They're
pets?
pulling you down too.
Do they have a higher frequency?
I'm not
Do
sure
they
about the
help
frequency,
you?
but they have an energy field, and they definitely do. You know what the great thing about pets, dogs in particular, is they offer unconditional love.
Yeah.
Something.
That's right.
See, the thing is when you're born, when your mother gives birth to you, she creates a hormonal cascade in her body that demands her to love you. And then that oxytocin wears off. But when you're a baby, we wouldn't be alive if your mom didn't give you some unconditional love.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we see that as a baby. Our subconscious knows that. And then where we spend the rest of our lives, our adult life, seeking unconditional love. And in our culture, because everyone's been exposed to different ideas as children, that love is to be conditional, that as adults, we're constantly seeking unconditional love the rest of our lives. And that's why we often feel unsatisfied and something's not right. And in a relationship with someone, we feel like this trust is hard to build or hard to maintain. It's because we know on some level that, if I do something that displeases you, you're going to take love away from me. Everyone kind of knows that. We don't use that same language, but there's that conditional love that everyone kind of feels that. So you see, because you've had it at one point in time in your life, you're seeking it forever. And that's why people are so big on their pets and why they fall so crazy in love with them.
It's true.
You leave for 5 minutes, your dog comes back, that tail's wagging. It's like you've been gone for a week. It's like, and so that unconditional love is very powerful because you've been conditioned as a child to be seeking it for the rest of your life now. And everyone's always trying to interact with you. And most people treat relationships like a trade. I started to study the subject too. It's some level one. It's called the level one lover. The level one lover comes in the relationship only to meet their own needs. The level two lover comes into trade. It's like a horse trading thing. You give me this, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
You didn't do the dishes, I'm withholding sex. It's like all that. It becomes a weapon. It's craziness, right? How conditional is the love?
Wow.
You have a deep seated need, and because I didn't do some menial task, now all of a sudden we're playing that game. Like, what's that?
That's messed up.
Or I have a friend of the opposite sex, and that all of a sudden now you're going to treat me different. You're ready to take away love. There's a lot of weird concepts there, but. And then you have level 3 lover, unconditional. And, we're all going to suck at it because we've been programmed nonstop our whole lives. But we want to try. We want to strive for that place, at least try and get to that place and try and work on it. And when we feel ourselves like being conditional with people, you want to try and like stop it. Snap the wristband is the metaphor that I like. Let's say, shit, I'm doing this thing. Like most people treat relationship like ownership. Now that we're participating this way, now you have a duty you're my property, ownership, branding, stamping. I own you, I control you, and they try and control people's lives. And I guess we all do some of that in some ways. But this whole idea of where were you?
Who were you with?
Yeah,
what were you doing?
Man.
How come you're...
When you find that jealousy thing coming up and you turn it off, there's something very wrong about that. There's something very wrong about it. It might be a natural response because you're so programmed, but you gotta fight it.
All right. So speaking of relationships now, how is that front on you? Because obviously, you're soaked with truth and knowledge. Like, how does that impact the people that you're you're interacting with, and the lady.
You know, it impacts things. It's a double-edged sword. You know, a lot of people like it. Some people gravitate to it. If you know, but someone who's feeling pretty insecure about themselves is not going to date Tony Robbins. You know, you're not going. You're feeling insecure about yourself. You don't want to be around John DeMartini, a man full of distinctions who you feel is way above you. You know, so. Almost like a percentage. But a percentage of the market that's closed off. I guess what I'm saying.
But your level of consciousness might. I mean, like obviously you must be really picky if you're looking for a mate.
Not to spend time with people is easy. You know, to have a good time with them and enjoy their company. But yeah, if you're going to be in a relationship, the other thing too is that, you know, where I find my weakness though, you know, I have lots of weaknesses. Most of it comes from programming that I got to fight. You know, that I got to still fight. You know, this idea of, you know, if you live an idea. Some of my philosophies in life: mastery, high standards. The fastest way to change anything is to raise your standard. You know, see, the standards are a double-edged sword in the sense that, you know, when someone's not meeting up to your standards in certain departments, there's a part of me that sometimes where I get weak in relationships that, you know, it's like I'm being harsh on somebody, you know, because my standard's so high. Mm-hmm. You know, and I care. It comes from a caring place, but it doesn't always come out right. You know, You know, but I have this high standard. You know, like. I don't miss very many days of exercising, you know, like, and this idea that someone wouldn't exercise, like I have this huge laundry list of things where if someone wanted to be in relation with me and spend lots of time in proximity with me, man, we gotta have there's a long list of things we need to have in common, you know, and they need to at least be open to a wide variety of diverse conversation. They can't be attached to the matrix because, boy, I'm going to unplug them fast.
So that really narrows the market a little bit.
It does. It does.
And that's how I can relate to you.
It does narrow the market. Yeah, where, you know, you meet a lot of really nice, really interesting people and have a lot of great qualities. And it's not saying I'm better than you. Yeah. It's just saying I don't know if we're going to find common ground. Like, is it going to be a fit, especially, you know, in a longer range horizon? Can we spend a lot of proximity over a space period of time? And that gets challenging. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm an oxymoron.
You don't want to settle.
I'm an oxymoron.
Never settle, right?
I am like my health regimen and my self-love in that department is huge. It's astronomical. So a lot of people aren't going to have that standard. Yeah. But I'm also a lot of people who are at my level of what people call, I don't call fanaticism at all. It's self-love, period. If you have the knowledge about something that will benefit your body and you're not doing it, you don't love yourself on some level. You know, if I know about something that's good for me, why am I not doing and choose it? Then I'm going to choose that. That's for my, you know, as soon as I get that new distinction, I'm going to implement it. And so the thing is, but I'm the oxymoron. Most people are at that place where they're really studying health and studying how their body works and trying to live those principles are very narrow, and they become staunch. It becomes like an identity metaphor for them, so much so they're not open to things. Well, I would never drink alcohol, you know? So it's like, oh, wait a second, I would never do this. And it's like, well, wait, listen, how about some flexibility?
That's a little too hardcore, yeah.
How about some flexibility? So, I like to share things. To me, I think relationship is just about sharing. A relationship should amplify things in life, you know? So you're in the. I'm there to share. I'm co-creating a moment all the time, right? It's more like moments. It's not like always trying to build something for the future because you're going to be mine and you owe it to me forever. and the day that you're no longer making each other's lives better, that's when you at least start asking the question of maybe we should just part ways. You don't need to buy. To me, the whole concept of marriage is pretty wonky to say the least. But. So I need someone who's into craft beer, open to craft beer. Right? I need someone who's open to, you know, premium wine and has a palate or is open to developing a palate for it. It's not about snobbery. It's simply about appreciating the distinctions that are there. There's a big difference in quality, massive variation. Someone who drinks Bud Light and I are just not going to get along. But someone who's not open to doing a lot of juicing in their life and eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, I mean massive quantities. I mean, I eat most people's monthly intake on a daily basis, you know. So, you know, someone's not down with that. And I eat almost primarily raw foods. And I make anything that I do cook is lightly cooked and I'm making it. You know, and I'm not processing shit and there's no microwave in my house. And if they're not into fitness, well, they've got a problem here again. That's a priority. I try hard not to shoot all over myself. I try and make things a must, a standard.
Mm-hmm. So there's ladies out there that are watching that are probably trying to write notes and keep up with what your standards are. Like, do you think it's like from the woman's side, would it be kind of tough to meet those standards? I mean, is that
it's a tall order, I guess. And I don't mean to be difficult.
Because that's pressure.
And I try not to do that. You know, and that's the good thing about having space. Like I think it's so valuable and important to me, even though I've been in more of a longer term serious relationship with women. But I keep my own address. I think it's so important for me to have my own space,
Yeah.
you know, and have my, proximity is good, but I don't want too much proximity, like we're only getting I like to have a man cave that I can go away to, and I also, I enjoy spending time
That's
with
the
my friends.
self-love part. That's the me time. That's
Sure, I think it's totally valuable, and I like having space to myself. I like spending time with my friends, and so that can help. But there's a lot of people too where I just think it's about being present. This whole idea that every time you're interacting with someone in the moment, you got to be thinking about the future together. Well, why can't we just come here, co-create, totally enjoy that moment, and be totally present right here? We're enjoying where I am right now. Yeah. And if the future comes and happens and we're still together, great. And we build things together, great. And if we don't build things together, then that's okay. What are you doing next Wednesday? Let's get together and let's have fun. And let's just leave. Let's have genuine fun. Let's enjoy each other. Let's not start saying, the trading starts already very early in dating, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do this if I don't think it's going to be long term, and if I don't want that, Abraham Hicks has some great videos on this simple subject too. It's ownership and this trying to control people, and always.
Michelle listens to a lot of Abraham Hicks.
Yeah, she's got a few great ones on dating.
Daily.
She's got a few amazing ones on dating. A really nice, fresh perspective, and it's from a woman. And she says, if you're dating a man, he says, I'm not looking for anything serious. She says, it's like, damn it, that's great. That's what I'm looking for and mean it. That's what, it's, why are we taking everything so damn serious all the time? Shit. Life's supposed to be fun. There's a time for the serious stuff, and there's a time to just let loose and play.
Yeah.
And so,
you gotta be present. You gotta be transparent about what you're looking for. You gotta.
Yeah, don't try and
don't
try and own me. Holy shit, that won't go over well. I'm so freedom driven, that ain't gonna work.
It's all about liberty.
Yeah. So, my whole life, all my prime directives are geared around creating more freedom in my life.
Yeah.
Health is the first freedom. That's one of the reasons why I do this. Why I take such good care of my body. I know that when I lose my health, nothing else I have will be valuable to me. And healthy at 80 starts at 30. So I'm like,
yeah.
But
what are some rituals that you do? Do you have daily rituals that you have that that keep you in that mindset?
Bring it.
In perspective. P90X. Yeah. There you go.
I love P90X. And I don't need a diet conducive to putting on huge amounts of muscle.
Yeah.
But I look pretty good on this shirt. I'm proud of myself. I got a lot of muscle. There's nothing lean and soft and wonky going on here. So it's lots of lean muscle. Just exercise. I try and exercise every day. I may take some days off when it's necessary. That would be like making. See, some people get in the gym and they get in the steroids and they work out like crazy, and that becomes body abusive too. Marathon running, triathlons, that's body abuse. It looks healthy. It's not healthy. So if you need a day off, you take a day off. But my rituals of I juice minimum once every morning. Minimum. Some days it's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But that's a minimum. That's like a standard that doesn't deviate.
Cool.
Yeah. I try and get to bed almost every night, with the exception of maybe weekends if I'm actually having fun. Then
At what time?
10 to 11. By 11 o'clock I'm in bed for sure.
What time do you wake up?
One thing that I've loved so much about being an entrepreneur and owning my freedom, not that everything's perfect in my life and not that there aren't ups and downs and roller coasters, but owning my time. I do not wake up to an alarm clock. I do not have one.
Yeah, you wake up when you
I wake up when I'm naturally supposed to wake up. This is when I'm supposed to wake up. So that's when I wake up. I generally wake up pretty early by nature, but that's
So do you sleep at a specific time, or do you sleep like, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to go to sleep?
If I'm tired, I'll go to sleep. If I really feel like I need a nap, then to me that's self-loving. So if my body's that tired, I'm going to go and have a nap.
So you're really in tune with what's happening inside your body.
I'm listening to my body a lot. Oh God, yeah, your body's sending you signals nonstop. If you're listening, if you're paying attention, your body's just sending you signals all the time. And you'll develop the same way you would develop a wine palate for knowing distinctions. The more you pay attention to your body, the more you start to really discern the signals. Your body's giving you some weird. Yeah, so I wake up naturally. I sleep roughly 8 hours every night. It's just a total natural process, and I value that so incredibly much. So incredibly much. I have a ritual that I want to make it more of a ritual, but I try and spend some time with my essential oils regularly. Like I do use some of them for supplements basically every day. But I like to
meditate with them.
Yeah. Even where I sit down on the couch. And I stop and I really take them in. This concept of go out and smell the roses, take time to smell the roses. This is exactly what I'm doing. I have a rose oil too, by the way. So, but a lot of people just like smell them, and they think, well, what do I do with these things?
What do you do?
Sometimes they even just take the cap off and just stop and like plug one nostril and just take some serious deep inhales, and then do the other nostril and rotate. A lot of the oils that would be very effective on the brain, oils that affect the nervous system, so they're very calming.
So it's just
to calm me down even. You need to de-stress sometimes. That's one thing I'm not that great at is stress. I know I'm the meaning maker in my life, and stress happens with my response to the environment, but it's still an habitual thing that's tough to break. And just sometimes you stop and smell the roses, literally. And just breathing them in, and it affects the nervous system. Your body can calm down, and you stopped all the other distractions in life. But you're focusing on one sense, and you're just really taking it in. And you spend time with a bunch of oils, and a lot of oils that are very brain efficient.
Do you have any with you?
Yeah, I always have some.
Dude, let's try some.
Yeah,
of this.
like smell brain power. It just smells amazing.
What's that?
Nice, just a nice
That's
blend.
brain power is a blend.
Nice blend. The Kappa's great.
See, my one nose is plugged.
Well, if I had peppermint, which I almost always carry on me, and I think I took it out the other day.
Smells so good.
Doesn't that smell amazing?
Dude,
It smells awesome.
awesome.
Oh, I might have peppermint. So so I mean, you take so a lot of those. Oh, there's my peppermint. There's my peppermint. Yeah, I never leave home without it. I would never. So you take something like brain power. There's a lot of oils that affect the brain, and you take your time and you start inhaling them, and just take time. Let them affect you. People say, "Oh, I smelled that thing and nothing happened." Wow, hold on a second.
Yeah.
They've done studies on inhalation alone, but those studies are time-elapsed studies. And inhalation alone was like ADD kids are turning around 100% test scores, 100% turnarounds with time elapsed constant inhalation. So I say, well, I smelled it once. For you to take it in,
Damn.
Yeah, I have to stop and just really.
That smells so good.
And I really enjoy them. Like my sense of smell is always something that's always been keen to me. So it's almost seemed like to think that I mocked oils at one point, and to think. It's kind of serendipitous, kind of full circle. Because I've had a bad habit my whole life of smelling everything. Big time. My sense of smell has always been a thing. I got these weird habits. My family's always nagged me about, like, what are you smelling now? Jesus, I'm doing it again. It's like a subconscious thing. I'm always smelling things. So to think this kind of came full circle.
Sensitive, yeah.
Came full circle. So yeah, and a lot of the oils just smell incredible. They just smell so good. So they're really pleasant.
So I'm assuming you don't like smoke or like cigars or anything like that. That would destroy your
it would,
taste
and I
buds
just
and your olfactory system.
I don't do that. And my relationship to alcohol is not like it was when I was younger either.
Yeah,
the relationship to alcohol now
course.
is about really taking it and savoring it and enjoy it. If I get a little inebriated in the process, then that's a part of the process. But I'm buying. For me, I'm a variety.
You're not like drinking.
I'm driven by
to
variety.
Get wasted. It's like
driven by
it's like
variety.
Drinking for just learn the taste, learn the flavor.
Yeah, if my 6 human needs, I'm driven by variety. That's my number one. That's my big focus.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Which plays into freedom.
I think that
for
might
me.
be one of mine too.
Freedom, right? And one of the greatest outlets for me to have nonstop, very simple variety has been things like beer and wine. So it's cooking. Like I'm always experimenting with different flavors. Like I don't cook set recipes. I'm always just playing with mixing and matching different flavors and spices and fusion cuisine. Mix a little Mexican with a little Thai, a little Indian. All things I never grew up eating, but I just love those foods.
Yeah.
But beer and wine give me just a nonstop, endless supply of simple variety.
And it never stops. Yeah.
You can't do different kinds of skydiving. Not that it's something I don't think I'm made for, but the thing is, like, that's just such an easy thing. I go to the store. I didn't have to make it. It's like the essential oils. It's so wonderful. Yeah, they fought wars over essential oils, and I just get on a website and somebody sends it to me. That's it.
Is it
amazing.
expensive?
Expensive relative to what?
Yeah, it's true.
Relative to people say, well, hey, natural deodorants are expensive. Expensive relative to
those
Alzheimer's.
bottles last a long
compared to Alzheimer's.
Those bottles last a long time too.
Oh, they last a long time. Yeah.
You're not pouring that stuff. Like
They last a long.
you do a couple drops.
It's worth it. It's like everything else in life. I tell you, the prime question you should be asking is not: is it going to be hard? Is it going to be easy? Is it going to take a long time? Is it worth it? That's all that matters. If it's worth it, then it's good.
Then it's good.
If it's worth it, then it's good. Period. And that's how I see my essential oils, and I have a huge collection, and I really love them. They're near and dear to my heart. I don't leave home without them. I never would. I can't imagine life without them. I just really like them. I'm telling you, you go. There's a blend called Peace and Calming that I love. You put some lavender and Peace and Calming in a diffuser. Close your bedroom door and turn on that diffuser when you go to sleep. And tell me you don't sleep better. You are going to sleep incredibly better, and your room smells like you're floating on a heavenly cloud. You feel do you understand that pharaohs and kings and Caesars killed, raped, and plundered to get their hands on a few essential oils, and I get essential oils from deep in the rainforest. I've never been distilled on the planet. All I got to do is get on a website, trade a little bit of cash, and they mail it to my door. It takes years and years to figure out how to distill it properly. Someone's done all that shit. And like beer, someone's already distilled and figured out how to make it so delicious. And I show up to a bar or restaurant,
and all you gotta do is order.
And I can order 15 different ones, 100 different ones. I go to the LCB and I walk in, mixing and matching, onesie, twosies, just trying a new thing. I'm shocking my palate with variety. I get to try all these wonderful different things. Am I concerned about the health ramifications? No, I just counteract them and wipe the slate clean and fuck the guilt. There's nothing good about guilt. And why am I resisting? That's something I love.
Inebriated every night.
No. I do it once or twice a week maximum. And I
That's just enjoying life.
It's enjoying life. I counter around that, and I have so many other good health rituals that I'm not concerned about. I'm going to live my damn life. These people make health their only prime directive in life. I was like, there's something wrong with you.
There's no balance.
You missed the
there,
point.
really.
There's no balance in that.
Yeah. Life's about enjoying the moment.
So much variety.
But you got to be
Instantly.
you got to be conscious about your decisions and what you're putting in your body.
Very conscious.
And that's what
about every
you're proving right now, is that you're educated about how to counteract all of the negative side effects of whatever you're consuming for enjoyment and variety and things like that.
One of the first things I tell you all the time is like, step one is what should I eat? Step one, be a conscious eater. Like, let's pay attention to what you put in your mouth. Start learning a little bit of your body. How many of them do you have to live in?
Yeah.
You're going to live in this body for the rest of your time here, and you only got one. Why are you not learning about how it works a little bit? It's a magnificent machine. It's a fascinating thing to study.
Only real thing you actually do own. And
it's a fascinating thing to study. Yeah. It's a fascinating, and enjoy your body. This guilt around sex, this guilt around masturbation, all this other enjoying your body in many different ways. It's really it's
natural.
It's natural and normal. It's the who's list of what are you talking about? You should be
listen
having sex.
up, kids.
And I apologize if my mother's watching, or but really, you should be having sex every day. You should be having sex every and totally enjoying it. And why not more than once a day? Why not? What else feels better than the orgasm?
Yeah.
And the lack of enjoying that is very healthy, and it causes health problems. The repercussions of not having them. It's well documented.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So enjoy your body. Enjoy the variety. Life. People are so driven by certainty, and they want everything to be the same. Studies have shown the average person only eats 20 different foods. That's it. No variation outside of that. I'm like, oh my God, that's like heartbreaking to me. And I think, there's so much variety. Life's, they say variety is the spice of life. It is.
That's what Tony Horton says.
Yeah,
variety is.
So I set up my life.
I know where your program's coming from.
Yeah, I listen to Tony Horton. I listen to Tony Robbins. I listen to Joe Dispenza. I listen to a lot of good influential people from a variety of spectrum of things, getting different perspectives.
Well, now our audience has someone new to listen to, and that's you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I listen to Dr. Mercola, but I don't agree with almost anything he says. But I still listen to him. He does have some good distinctions, and I can learn. And he's a good counter.
So you're still willing to listen to things that are opposite.
Learning all the time.
Yeah.
Learning all the time, But it amazes me how someone, let's say in the health field, they spend their whole life in the health field and they never stop and take... See, everyone talks about dogma. Well, this culture did this and that culture did that, and the Bible said this and this said that, and that book said... And this culture did this and they're doing great. Why don't we just throw out the dogma? Because what historical populations ate was a matter of survival, not a matter of optimal health.
Yeah.
Let me take an anatomical viewpoint. I'm going to anatomically look at my gastrointestinal system, mouth to anus, and see what is it designed for, and try and be a detective. And you only have to spend a small amount of time there to figure out very quickly what you're supposed to eat and what you're not supposed to be eating, and everything else is dogma and bullshit, and none of those stories matter, and everything else is a bullshit story. Everything's a bullshit story.
Oh, man.
Because you're designed a certain way. Nothing else matters. You're designed this way. You can't escape it. Well, my blood type. Cows have many more blood types than humans, by the way, and they all eat a species-specific diet.
Wow.
A species-specific diet. And people say, eating all that fruit, that's like a diet for the monkeys. And you have the most in common with whom?
Yeah.
98% DNA.
Jesus.
With whom? With whom?
Let's go chimp. Come on.
You know what I mean? It's like, really? You eat lots of bananas? And why shouldn't I? Come on. It's just so common sense. Everything, you get rid of the dogma and you get rid of the emotion and all the stigmas, and then common sense comes back in. Common sense, the rarest commodity on earth.
Shit, we got to wrap this thing up, man. It's 10:17.
Oh my God. Well, I had no idea what time it was.
That went quick.
Time flies.
Oh my God. So where can everyone find you? How are they gonna?
Facebook's the best place to find me.
Okay.
Facebook is the best.
Is it
place to find you.
facebook.com/Terry Tillaart?
Just look up Terry. Yeah, just look up Terry Tillaart on there. You search me. I don't have
double
any
L, double A?
Double L, double A, and I don't have any blocks or whatever on my name. So as long as you're spelling it right, TILLAART. And so I don't have any blocks on the account. So if you search me, you find me. And I'm always sharing lots of good information on there. I think trying to inspire people to their best life and trying to offer some distinctions it's a good forum for communication. I'm not on there playing Farmville and Mafia Wars and stuff.
Oh my God, you're there spreading some good stuff.
I'm trying to make someone's life better. I'm hoping that that's the one thing that gets under their skin, that causes them to ask a new question that
There's
maybe
always a lot of good content.
sets them
You're
on a new
always
path.
putting out good content.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks,
and
I
you
talk-
also have a mailing list as well.
I do, and if you
How do
message
they
me on
send-
Facebook, then I'll just hook you
add
up with
you
that.
on, yeah.
I'll hook you up with that. It's just an easy way. Everyone's on Facebook. The whole world's on Facebook. It's the largest country in the world now, so you
It is the largest country. Jeez.
get on there. So why and social media was designed for that. I think for intelligent information sharing, so you can really connect with people. Like I
Totally.
use it for friendship also. I absolutely love it. I wish I had the time to connect with everybody one on one.
Yeah.
But
But it's another way to leverage it, and
sure.
people can follow each other. And
I could talk to 3,000 people, or 5,000 people, or 20,000, or 100,000 people.
well,
at
that's
the
how
same
we
time.
invited you to come on the show too. Just
Sure.
through Facebook
Absolutely.
messaging.
Yeah.
So Frig, dude, thank
you so much for having me,
for
guys.
coming,
I really
man.
appreciate it,
Yeah,
and I'm
man.
sorry
Thank
for
you
all the
so
ranting
much.
and rambling and
No,
going
it's
from
good.
this spectrum to that
No,
spectrum. And
You're a
that's
huge resource, and I know a lot of people watching this are extremely grateful for having you on the show as well.
well, I hope someone got something from it, from all the craziness.
Oh, I'm
and,
sure. And that's what I was saying. I mean, there's so much content. This could be like a 2-3-parter. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll
Anytime
have
you
you
guys
back.
Well,
want
we'd love to have you
You're
back
close
on.
enough where...
anytime you want to, yeah. And if you guys want to rein me in or direct me in a closer conversation or one subject or whatever you guys want to do, just let me
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
it's your show. I
Always
don't
get
want
into
to.
that.
No, that was
It's your
great,
show. I just
man.
want to help out and contribute how I can. So
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you
thank you
again.
so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, man.
And great to hang out with you guys again.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
way too long.
Wow.
Way too long.
Let's go out for a beer sometime or something. Huh?
Yeah.